But when you know for a fact, 100%, there's a dude in that room with a gun, he's already shot through the threshold, your adrenaline goes through the roof. Level. But your hands are like that of a orthopedic surgeon. They are so steady because you're hunting humans, and there is nothing more satisfying than hunting a human that's hunting you.
So
nothing.
I've made that exact terminology statement to people. People look at you like...
That Hemingway quote, hunting armed men.
Yes.
And that's the truest statement I've ever heard in my life.
Yes.
Shipping manager says he doesn't know where it is. They start looking through the cameras, and then they see it. He walks out to his car, drives off with it, and there's a long chain of events that essentially happen.
Welcome back to CF Podcast, guys. Kyle over here with Aaron.
I'm back, people.
And today we are at the GBRS Group's office here. Obviously a little bit different than what we have at Classic Firearms or CF Podcast Studio, because we're visiting these guys. They're awesome. And in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So I've known you guys for quite some time. We actually met at the 6 Hours event. Me and Aaron, obviously. You guys do some really cool stuff. And there are some folks out there still, they may not know who you are. So I want to go ahead and dive straight into who you guys are. So tell us about who you guys are, and also talk about the GBRS Group. What is GBRS Group?
Go ahead.
All right. I'm Cole Fackler. Grew up in Norfolk, Virginia, not too far away from here. Went into the military in 2003. Met this guy in 2004 and basically had a mirror career through Team 10 selection, Dam Neck, and we both got medically retired around the same time. Started GBRS, had a good transition, or a rough transition.
When was that?
He was out medically retired in 19. I was in 2020. Perfect time for COVID.
Oh, nice. That's a good time.
And we're coming up on 5 years, September 6th.
How old are you, Cole?
I turned 40 this year, and everything. Yeah,
what?
Everything's falling apart.
No. Tell me about
it's a lighting.
41, brother.
It's your makeup by bar.
I'm 41. Don't tell me about falling apart, brother. Don't talk about it, please. Yeah. So, Cole, before you gave me a nice little roundabout, give me more about yourself, man. You grew up, you know where that is. High school, give me family, give me a little bit more.
So I grew up only child.
Okay.
So I have the only child syndrome.
Nice.
Like most may say. Played a lot of sports. Big one, swam year round for a long time. But got to play instruments, sports.
What kind of instruments?
Ooh, what kind of instrument?
I played the violin for like 10 years.
Did you really?
I did.
Dude,
nice.
I play the guitar, but my favorite instrument is violin.
Yeah.
I love that thing. All right, cool.
I got to play the alto sax. Yeah. Played the alto sax too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I did the trombone for like 30 seconds. And my neighbors told me to stop.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
No, but it was a good time growing up. Parents.
Mom, dad together?
Yeah, they did everything they could for me. They actually had their 50th wedding anniversary last year.
Really?
November,
nice.
yeah.
Congratulations to
so
that.
they're close by. Grandparents are close by.
Nice.
Say grandparents. They are the grandparents now.
Okay.
With 4 little ones running around, 5, 6, 9, and 12.
Okay.
Sometimes hard to keep up with all of them, but
I
my oldest just got braces too today.
Oh, it's always fun.
They're growing up fast. So
Yep.
I wouldn't know.
it's good. Learned a lot growing up, especially competitively swimming.
Yeah.
We talk about it, and I kind of look back on it now, the resilience that was developed through competing and, the failures and growing. And looking back on it now, at a very young age, I learned that I could push my body further than I thought it could.
Really? How did you learn that exactly? What was being a lonely child? You were hanging around certain people. Like, give me a little bit more backstory, man.
I mean, really looking back at it, swimming year round, we would swim 6 to 8 practices a week doing doubles. And had a great coach, Steve Bellarucki.
Okay.
He pushed, and he knew how to push me really well. And a lot, I think it's natural. You don't think you can go as far as you can, and it's a mental game.
Yeah.
And he did really good with me on physically pushing me, and I learned at a young age, when I look back at it now, everything from like your lactic threshold. Once you hit that, ultimately you throw up.
Yeah.
But it's like raising that bar every time you do it, and you know how to manage. All right, like hitting that lactic threshold level, and like be able to dial it back down, but be able to recover, and really gave me the confidence of like, well, if I just put my mind to it, I can accomplish anything.
So is that why you wanted to join the Navy? Was that a factor since you were a competitive swimmer?
Naturally, my family has a joke that Facklers are very competitive.
Okay.
I don't like just doing something mediocre or half-ass, or being second best or just participating. And it just kind of natural, always wanted to be better, wanted to be the best and train the hardest. My dad used to always tell me there's always somebody somewhere training harder, longer, better than you. And I remember just the old Rocky music too, playing in the background.
Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, and swimming, you know, being an individual sport, it's like it's only you.
Yeah.
Gotta look in the mirror and you know how good or bad you are, and it's all on you.
Yeah. What kind of student were you in school?
Mediocre.
A's? Mediocre.
I was mediocre.
C's, B's, A's?
All the above. Yeah.
You were the physical guy.
Yeah, I hated books. I was a visual learner.
Okay.
Always have been.
Yeah.
And sports kind of came natural too for me. I'm ambidextrous. I'm real fucked up. Like I write right-handed, shoot
You're
left-handed.
one of those guys?
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. Let's just end this interview.
Wow. I mean, it's transition now. Looking at it, it's like I can shoot right-handed pretty good.
Yeah.
Naturally left-handed.
Can you shoot left-handed pretty good? I mean, besides training, I know you're very trained on that one, but naturally, do you find yourself shooting left-handed just as good?
Well, I shoot dominant left-handed, so my non-dominant's right, and I'm shooting pretty good right.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, that's pretty cool, actually. Very, very cool.
Show you tomorrow on the range.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah. I can't do anything with my left hand.
But yeah, I mean, I grew up in the ocean too, swimming, and loving the water. So I spent a lot of time surfing. That's probably the thing I've done the longest.
Gotcha.
Since I can remember, probably since kindergarten.
Okay.
And that was kind of that same thing of challenging myself, being in the water and always trying to catch the biggest wave.
Right.
Chasing East Coast surf, the hurricanes.
Right.
And it led into
Florida with everybody else.
Yeah, up and down the East Coast, and it led into buds and surfing in California, and ultimately led into Hawaii and doing some big wave stuff.
Nice.
We'll get into some of those stories in a little bit. But
Nice. So I see you got some ups there. Give me some downs that took you certain places in life when you were younger.
At a young age, I had my first shoulder surgery.
Okay.
At 14, swimming on a super high competitive level, doing really well, and ended up tearing some stuff in my shoulder.
Yeah.
And that was a big setback. It was a setback, but it was a positive and a negative. Like I finally realized, I was like, oh, there's a whole other thing out in life. It's called chicks. Finally had some time. I was
there
like,
we go.
All right, this isn't a negative.
Remember that stage in
But
life?
being able to come back from being injured and experiencing those setbacks, seeing kind of my year group and the people I was competing with continue on. But I took that mentality into. I ended up actually road cycling competitively after that. Yeah, road and mountain.
Dude, you did a lot of stuff. What's going on?
Yeah, I shifted. Yeah, like when I was little too, my family, my parents and I, we all did like team triathlons. So like run, swim, bike.
Yeah.
And,
you guys on those people like on
or swim, bike,
Thanksgiving
run.
that you guys were out running on during Thanksgiving? Get your marathon run?
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Or pre-military still?
Yep.
It all makes sense now. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So started like the family triathlon. I would swim, my dad would bike, my mom would run, and kind of transitioning through shoulder surgeries and everything else. Yeah. Started doing triathlons on my own, and road cycling and that kind of stuff. Some other kind of rough challenges. Lost my cousin.
That's right.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
So that was an experience of losing somebody. And
what happened, if you don't mind me asking?
Car crash. Yeah, he had just graduated college.
Jeez.
In car crash. So I dealt with some loss because he was, I guess, the closest thing to me as a brother.
Yeah.
That I could have had. Yeah.
How did that affect you?
I didn't really grasp the loss as you'd expect kind of a 14-year-old would.
More compartmentalized.
Yeah, like looking back on it, pretty surprising because we're guilty of compartmentalizing so much.
Yes.
And so it was like I remember my dad picked me up from swim practice and he was trying to tell me however he thought the best way was to tell me that he had died. And I was like, okay. Like, kind of one of those things like you don't really understand it. But yeah, that was a big hit. I think it's it's more impactful now on me and kind of weighs on me now than when I was young.
Yeah.
Lost my godfather too, pretty young, and he was the first one that gave me a surfboard.
Really?
And got me into the water. He was changing his oil in the driveway, and the blocks either didn't have blocks or whatever, but it rolled back on him. Yeah. So yeah, those are some.
How old were you then?
6.
Oh man,
6, 7. Yeah. So
yeah, especially the cousin thing. Like when you're an only child, that is your brother. Like I have multiple cousins. We grew up together, but at the same time, I had my own brothers too. It's a different dynamic. So you just having your cousin as your brother, your pal, growing up together and losing that must be devastating. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't really reflect much on my history and growing up, but when we talk about it and looking back on it, it's like, I kind of did experience quite a bit when I was young. You know, loss, injury, competing at a high level, and just kind of how to recover and be resilient from it.
Right, and all these things, I mean, definitely build into the creation of who you started to become before you entered, obviously, into buds and things like that. But we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
But I just want to kind of see where the foundation was before you got into and made the decision to go that route.
Yeah, when I was young, too, I grew up swimming at the old SEAL Team 2 pool.
Okay.
So that was kind of my introduction somewhat to the surrounding.
Okay. So you would see those guys.
Yeah.
You'd actually,
What'd you think about it when you saw those guys?
Oh, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know much.
Right.
What was that one movie? Shot at the Ready Room and all that.
Navy SEALs with Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen?
That was like, that was what I knew.
The MP5s.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Like lifting weights, the Charlie Sheen. So
How
I
many
knew that.
SEALs did that movie make?
Thousands.
Yeah.
Many.
The
Yeah.
majority that won the G1.
That was a huge marketing tool for the SEALs.
But I literally did my first 50-meter underwater swim in that pool.
Really?
I was like 10.
Nice.
Yeah. So when fast forward into buds, and they're like, you got to do a 50-meter underwater swim. I was like, I did that at 10.
Right.
Like it wasn't a mind fuck or anything. It just,
So at what point did you decide this is the route I want to go?
So kind of getting through, middle school, high school, all that, I didn't want to go to college. I went and started working construction for my uncle. Work construction during the day, on loading docks at night.
Okay.
It's like, I'd been around some SEALs, especially growing up around the area, and some of my parents' friends. And I had moved to West Virginia after high school. So kind of living on my own.
Why
first
West Virginia?
time. That was where my uncle's construction company was.
Okay.
And living on my own, construction during the day, loading docks at night, figuring out how to survive on your own at 18. And I didn't make the wisest decisions while I was there, but I was learning, and it got to a point, my parents had instilled enough values in me that I recognized kind of that path, and I was like, I don't want to go to college still. I was like, but I'll try this Navy SEAL thing.
Yeah.
Nice. And, so obviously that from there you just threw your name in the hat and you're at the buds. Right?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. Luckily, I'd say I had a mentor at the time, and he was an active duty SEAL. I was like, hey, I want to sign up and be a SEAL. So he helped me and guided me through the process of like making sure I had a SEAL contract, got all signed up. It wasn't like being sold like a used car salesman, like, yeah, we'll get you in. And then all of a sudden, like, you're undesignated seaman and no contract.
Oh, okay. We'll get
I've heard
there.
stories. I've been there. I've heard a couple stories about it.
So, I came home for a couple months and went straight to went straight to boot camp, February at the Great Lakes.
How'd your mom and dad receive that? What'd they say? Was there any fight back on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, by that time, 9/11 had happened.
Okay.
We weren't in the war by any means at that time, but I think my parents knew we were heading that direction, like as a country.
Yeah.
Mom was super supportive, only child. My dad, we have a dynamic relationship, loving, great, but just father son button heads, especially at 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
You think you know everything in the world.
Yeah, of course.
For sure.
To realize you don't know anything.
But yeah, I think, our interaction during that decision point definitely probably wasn't the easiest, but it was what I needed, to stick with it.
Yeah. What'd your mom and dad do? I didn't ask that question.
My dad worked really a computer science major at that point. He'd been doing it for 15 years or so, but he worked for Bank of America.
Okay.
On the computer science side and just programming. Mom, been a dental hygienist since she was 20. She's still doing it, and 70 now.
Oh, damn.
Still doing it, huh?
Still doing it. Yeah.
She must love that job.
You know.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. So, but she's winding down finally.
Yeah.
So it's good. But
Nice.
no, it was good. I mean, it was super supportive. They threw kind of a going away party, a bunch of friends and family, and there was no way I was going to come back and fail.
So, yeah, because everybody knows, as in mainstream, like the whole Navy SEAL buds, right? Like that's the Hell Week. Everybody talks about it. There's been movies about it, a lot of documentaries about it, and you guys can definitely touch base on that a little bit. But with your mentality, because when somebody says Navy SEAL, what I think of is water, right? Like that comes to mind. Of course, there's a lot more to it, but water comes to mind. And since you're a water guy, how was that buds experience for you when it comes to the whole water thing? You probably did you smoke
I loved
everybody?
I loved it because I super strong swimming background.
Yeah.
Did triathlons, which the majority of them you had open ocean swims. Love surfing, chased hurricane surf. So like being in chaotic water, especially on the East Coast, like okay, like I've swam miles in the ocean. Like it's nothing new. It's like doing the 50 meter underwater breath hold. It wasn't new to me, and they would always look at me as crazy because even in buds, we'd be in the ocean, being sandy, whatever. All I could think about was like, I bet you Blacks is going off right now. Like when we get done, I was like, I'm headed straight there with my surfboard, and people were like, you're gonna go back out there? I was like, well, yeah, the surf's really good.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Everyone's like, I don't want to step foot on sand, water, nothing. And I was like, that part.
Get
All
rid
right,
of this
what
environment.
was the hardest part for you then?
I
for
hated
buds?
running.
Running.
Okay.
Yeah, there were so many times I wanted to break my ankle. It's like, please just step in a pothole. Like in this nightmare.
Yeah.
Running in soft sand, brutal.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
yeah.
So you went through, obviously, made it. We'll talk about your career and all that. And got out. And how long were you in the SEALs team? You said 2020, 2003, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
And the entire time, what was your job, let's just say?
I mean, I was a SEAL. I mean, minus boot camp and buds, I was a SEAL the entire time. My roles changed. I mean, when you first come in as a new guy, you got to be a sponge. Whether you got to be a machine gun, AW guy or whatever. Once you finally get an opportunity to go to some schools, sometimes you can pick them, sometimes you can't. It's dictated to you. Luckily, I got a chance to pick some. But before I get into the picking some,
Okay.
so after our first deployment, I lost my testicle. So
So stand by. Hold up.
Whoa, hold on.
Let's get an introduction here first, and then let's get into
Okay.
you guys and testicles lost and all that type of stuff. All right.
All right. So you want to jump over to
let's
DJ
do
then?
DJ,
Yeah.
and then let's get into that.
Okay.
You want to hear
I
the
wanna
testicle
that.
story?
Now I'm
later?
gonna
Yeah,
wait for that
definitely hearing the
story.
testicle story.
Yeah.
Tom Green, 100%.
You're on deck, DJ.
So good, sir.
Yeah.
DJ Shipley, grew up in Chesapeake, Virginia, probably 15 miles from here.
Okay.
Navy brat. Dad was in the Navy, mom's in the Navy. Most of my extended family's all military service. So
Okay.
yeah, I got in a little bit of trouble growing up, and my dad signed me up for summer school so I could graduate early, and I joined the Navy about a month and a half later.
Okay.
At 17,
Gotcha.
straight out the buds.
Give me sports background. What is your background? What were you doing?
Wow.
I skateboarding was my only sport. My old man, we talked about it earlier,
Right.
didn't want me to play football. He was really concerned that I would get too hurt and the Navy wouldn't accept me. The plan for him and my mom was I was always going to be a SEAL. There was a phase, I'm a big animal rights dude. Like, I love animals. I love dogs more than anything on the planet. I wanted to be a vet,
Really?
but I didn't want to go to school.
Okay.
So it's not even a real option,
Yeah.
right? And then I wanted to be a professional skateboarder. I'd skate in a local contest. I had sponsors. I'm like, this is all I want to do. And I'm so glad I didn't go that route because hindsight being 2020, I was not nearly good enough to do what these kids are doing now, and that would have been just a failed career. So yeah, man, at 17, I launched out there, but didn't play Pee Wee football and stuff like that. But
Right.
my only, I have a younger sister, but really my only team kind of approach was just growing up with Navy SEALs the whole time. So everything was SEAL team. Every movie you watched, everything you were exposed to was that. And he was really cool, just in the sense that when he graduated buds, my mom was 9 months pregnant with me. So when he was brand new checking the SEAL Team 1, he was the only dude with a kid. So they took me everywhere. I mean, I've got pictures knee high to a duck on demo ranges and shooting courses and CQ. It just took me everywhere. they'd be out doing land warfare, and I'd be in a tent with him eating Count Chocula, Cocoa Puffs and shit, just like one of the boys. So for me, it was kind of a surreal experience, but it was super cool to see it on the backside. And then later on, that really added to the motivation when times really got difficult, because I've seen the other end of it. Mm-hmm. I see the instructors, and they do a really good job of putting some Herculean figures out in front of you think you'll never really meet. And for me on the backside, like, I know exactly who that dude is. I've known that guy my entire life. Right. So for me, I was able to humanize a lot of those people where a lot of the other people couldn't. Like, you see them, you see what they're able to do physically, and you're like, I'll never be able to make that. I'll never make that standard. Yep. But for me, I see them exactly who they are. Like, I've grown up with that type of figure my whole life. So for me, it was super surreal being out there, but it's the only thing I knew.
So tell me this. Tell me about your dad a little bit, because I know he had a big play in you making a decision where you went to, and what was his background? What did he experience?
Essentially the exact same thing. His old man was a fighter pilot. Later went on 20 years in the U.S. Air. And his brother was a Ranger. His other brother was a Marine. My mom's dad fought in World War II all the way through. So big military background. He grew up in right outside of Pittsburgh. They moved to the Eastern Shore in Maryland. Okay. Not a whole lot to do, so got into a little bit of trouble. And at 17, he ran away from home and got caught stealing a can of SpaghettiOs. He was starving to death and got caught stealing a can of SpaghettiOs. They brought him in front of the judge and said, you can either go to jail or you can enlist and join the military. And he said, join the military. And I think 3 months later, he was on a big gray ship in Yokosuka, Japan, and did 4 years in a fleet. Met a guy who was training to go to BUD/S. They became best friends. He watched him do the whole training pipeline, and he's like, that shit sounds really, really cool. Got stationed in California, went to BUD/S, and kind of the rest is history. Met my mom when he was there.
Wow. So your entire life is completely different than your upbringing, than Cole, right? Just completely different. Is that?
Well, let's get some more into that, because I want to hear more about...
Yeah, like completely different in the aspect of wasn't a professional athlete. Yeah. I didn't know anything about lactic threshold. I didn't know anything about training methodology, anything else. And one of the things that was super hard for me was to see the level that people were at. And I was a child, dude. Like
that's what I'm saying. You said 17. That's where I was going to get to.
Like, I had one disposable razor for, ask him, 5 years, dude. Like, I mean, one chin hair. Like, I didn't have armpit hair when I graduated BUD/S. Like, I hadn't even hit puberty, dude. I was a juvenile. And everybody knew it.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
that's insane.
I was a kid. So my senior year of high school, I'm doing log PT with all these physical phenoms, and I look like a fish out of water. Yeah. What am I doing here?
How do they treat you? I mean, I know we're jumping around, but that's got to be...
So for me, it was different because all the dudes there was a really big East Coast presence at BUD/S when we went through. Yeah. So a lot of the instructors came from Tune 2, and that's where my dad did the majority of his time. So I knew a bunch of the cadre, and they absolutely beat the shit out of me.
Yeah. I would think so, because they're like, hey, you're just a kid.
Yeah, you're trying to be keeper of the gate. And I did it, and I appreciate it now, but it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I mean, because you see it on TV, you see the finished article, but you don't know the push-ups, you don't know the time, the sleep deprivation, the injuries, and when they all started stacking up, for me, I never felt like I was prepared enough. I was kind of just fighting through one day at a time. I talk about this a lot. Like, everybody's perception of how difficult BUD/S is scalable to the individual. Yeah. Like, his experience in BUD/S is very different from mine. I mean, first time, every time, crushed everything, won everything, and I'm just getting my ass kicked the whole fucking time. Yeah. So I look at these dudes, I'm like, how am I still here? And I never once thought about quitting because that was never really an option.
I was going to ask you, like, every time you were getting close to it, and there's many other instances in our lives where we want to quit whatever we're doing, but something just pushes us forward, right? Willpower, whatever it may be. Yours was you hated running, and yours was pretty much everything. You're getting your ass kicked. What was making you keep pushing?
So when I lacked the motivation, you got to wear this old school camouflage cover. It's lanyarded in your uniform. And on the inside of the brim, I wrote BUD/S 131. It was my dad's class number. So anytime it got super dicey under the log, I'd glance up and I'd see it. I'm like, just keep going. I mean, he did it. It's not impossible. I mean, everybody else here is still doing it. Just continue to go. And the one thing that really saved me is I healed like a superhero. Like, I'd roll my ankle, same thing. I mean, we had a pretty large group of us that were 19 and younger. And we'd roll an ankle on a Wednesday in double in size, black and blue. And you wake up on a Thursday and you're good. Like, it's just not affecting you the way it does everybody else. The healing aspect and the fact that I was pretty funny by nature. and I could let shit roll off me. So when it would be miserable, I could always make a joke. I could always find something lighthearted to kind of bring the group together and just, we're all getting surf torture together. I'm like, well, at least it ain't fucking cold out here. If it was cold, this would really suck. You know, everybody starts laughing. And then when dudes would quit, especially guys that are super in shape, you think are a shoe-in, because I can do it. I know Cole can do it. You can look at a class of 200 people and you could down select to 30. You're like, that dude will make it. After watching him for a couple hours, like, that dude will make it. And you're wrong the majority of the time. Yeah. Based just off physical presence, like, that dude runs fast enough. None of that's going to be a physical challenge. And you watch the mental midget aspect. They just cripple under the pressure. And yeah, I think growing up with him was difficult just because he wasn't there a whole lot. So I got raised by my mom the majority of the time. And when he came back in, it was kind of like a dictatorship. So we butted heads an awful lot. And when it was good, it was great. When it was bad, it was really bad. But yeah, I mean, it got you used to dealing with pressure to perform. Everything was measured on performance. And yeah, I mean, somehow it worked.
How's your relationship with your sister?
It was strange because we're 5 years separated, and we had a gnarly incident when she was probably 5 years old. She got run over by a truck in our yard. My mom was backing out to get groceries, and she jumps on the back of the tailgate. Mom doesn't see her, kicks in reverse, flips her off. Truck runs her over.
Oh, shoot.
Dad sees it, picks the truck up, throws it off her. Nightingale lands in the backyard, and she spent the next 6 or 9 months in CHKD, Children's Hospital. Wow. Crushed her spleen, blew her eyes out. I mean, she flatlined 3 or 4 times on the way to the hospital, like, should have killed her. And when she finally pulled out of that, they sent me to live in the Bahamas for a couple months. My grandparents. It just happened right around summer vacation, so I spent the whole summer with them sailing around everywhere. And when I came back, it was like the whole focus of the family had shifted. Now everything was for her. Right. And she got away with murder, and it felt like all the things that she would do would piss him off. They would turn it on me. So I kind of felt like the whipping boy for a lot of it. Yeah. And it started to build up resentment because we grew up on a small family farm, but I mean, chickens, ducks, geese, peacocks, fucking ostriches. I mean, we had pet raccoons, we had baby deer. I mean, we had everything on that place, but because he was gone so much, I mean, he did 9 or 10 deployments, each one 6 months at a pop. Right. Since the day I'm born until the day I left, I mean, you were gone the majority of my life. So every time I'd have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, go slop hogs and do all this, it built up a resentment. Like, I'm doing this shit for you. And every time you come home, all you're doing is throwing sand in my fucking face. And it really just kind of built up a resentment. So by the time it was, right around 16, 17, I was itching to get out of there. I didn't care what I did. I just wanted to go. And he was the same way. And that's why he nudged me when he said undesignated. Like, when I joined the Navy, it was very different from everybody else. And when I look back on it, hindsight being 20/20, I don't know if he was trying to teach me a lesson in humility, hoping I wouldn't make it. I didn't have a SEAL contract. I didn't have a rating. Like, I went to boot camp undesignated. So you're at the needs of the Navy. So if I would have failed that screen test in boot camp, I am chipping paint for the next 4 years, no matter what. I'd never let anybody do that. I'd never advise anybody to do that. That is the worst thing.
Did he knew to advise you that and didn't, your dad?
I mean, that's what he pushed. He's like, I don't care what you do. You're just out of my house. Right. So whatever you want to do. So that's really the goal. It's like, well, if I got to join the Navy, I'm going to be a SEAL. He's like, whatever you want. I don't care. And then when I started training, then the motivational stuff started to come back in. Now now I'm kind of back in the fold. Now I'm getting a little bit of support, but it was always a little bit of animosity to it.
How's your relationship with him now?
Not good. We had a falling out a long time ago when we were prepping to go to selection. Yeah, I mean, I essentially had to hit a point in my career where I had to cut out all toxicity out of my life completely. And once you see and hear certain things, you can't unsee them. Yeah. And I had to make a line, had to make a decision.
Where's your mom?
What's up?
Mom, where's she at? What's she doing? How is she?
Still with the old man.
Yeah. Yeah. How's your relationship with her?
Yeah.
Same
thing.
I see. Okay.
Get him out.
When's the last time you saw him?
January 5th, 2010.
All right. So it's been quite some time.
Man of resolve. If I put my foot down, I don't back off it.
It's not a bad thing always.
And
not a bad thing.
Just for what it is, man, they were great when it was great. Yeah. And when it wasn't, it went real bad. And I couldn't let my family be exposed to it anymore. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on the backside that we don't really need to get into, but at the end of the day, I had to make a decision. What do I want to do more? Do I want to be a son, or do I want to be a full-fledged Navy SEAL at 100%? And I couldn't have any distractions. And there was a big resentment trying to go over to command and all of that kind of stuff. And yeah.
You know, in all honesty, when you're about, 40, 39?
31.
Yeah. When you look back, obviously you got a family, which we'll get into. Do you think your relationship with your parents, how it fell apart, kind of affects you to this day?
100%. There isn't a day that goes by I don't think about them. Not a single time. Like when I see Cole and dropping kids off at the family's house, and I see his mom and dad, like I've known him for 20 years, right? Like I want that sense of normalcy. Like I want to be able to call my old man. I want to be able to call my mom and get a sanity check. Like I don't know how to raise kids, dude. I don't know how to do this.
Right.
There's no book that comes with him.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Do you think there'll ever be a point, maybe, down the line? I know you hold a 1% chance that this will work itself out, as most people do.
I would absolutely love that to happen, but
yeah,
that's not on my side.
I got you.
Did they not reach out?
No.
They have not reached out to you for 14, 15 years.
No, man, I cut those ties a long time ago, and I had to go to some extraordinary lengths to make sure that contact was severed, and no emails, no positive emails or contact of any kind. So,
because I understand. We all have our differences, and I'm not saying wrong or right, but at times, sometimes, especially family, perhaps some people just accept their differences, or there's kids involved, grandkids and all that. Perhaps people put their pride aside. I'm not saying on your end, by the way, maybe the other side, kind of try to make peace, right? And that never happened.
I ended up getting hurt in selection, and we had a phone call, and I was all doped up on pain meds and everything else, and that conversation and how it ended was really the straw that broke the camel's back.
Gotcha.
Things that were said, and you can't take them back, right? Like if somebody tells you something that's so toxic in nature,
oh, of course,
you've been manifesting that. You've been thinking about that for a very long time. Now that it left your mouth, you can't take it back.
Yeah.
Do you think that was said due to a moment of just anger?
I think it was a moment of jealousy. I think it was a cumulative thing. Him growing up, 70s, 80s, doing an entire peacetime career, and then we graduate buds, and I know you felt it too. We'd go over there and, you start sharing war stories and everything. Like for the first 2 deployments, it was great. I was walking on cloud 9, like thick as thieves, dude. Like my best friends. Best friends with him. We'd go down there and just party our asses off. The best relationship. And the moment you wanted to screen and get out of that, yeah, fuck it, I'll just talk about it. He was starting to get big on YouTube, doing a bunch of different stuff, and wanted to do a bunch of training courses and stuff like that. And I just told him, because we were down there, we'd moonlight, we'd go down there and help him out, like run these little mini hell weeks and shooting courses or whatever, our photos not being taken. And then when social media started to come on with really the YouTube stuff, we just had a heart-to-heart conversation. I'm like, hey, brother, like, I can't be down here doing that. You can't take my photo. You can't put me on the website and say my son's one of the youngest Navy SEALs. We have the exact same name. Like, I'm a Google search away from finding me, and that's where this whole digital age is going, and I can't be associated. And that's all it took, dude. Yeah. And I watched him twist and turn, and really it was jealousy, and it was money. Like, he used me as his number one marketing tool, and he still does to this day.
Gotcha.
I mean, like, I've said on those phone calls, and I've listened to him sell it, like, my son's one of the youngest Navy SEALs. He's got, X amount of deployments of combat. Like, I can make your son a Navy SEAL too. Just give me this amount of money. You can't fucking do that, man. Yeah. You can't do it. It's not fair. We have the exact same name, dude. We can't.
How old is he?
50-something.
Still very young.
I mean, the day he retired, I went delayed entry program the same day, so we did a 1-for-1 swap. No, yeah, September, November 2002, I enlisted. That's right when he retired.
How do you handle the kids? What do kids ask? Nope. Grandpa?
Nope. I mean, my father-in-law's a SEAL, so they're in with him all the time. So, I mean, they live 5 miles away from us, so they get to see him quite a bit. But they ask now, like, well, that's mom's dad, mom, where's yours? Yeah, it's a long story. We don't talk about it.
Gotcha.
All right, so let's track on. Let's go. We get into Navy. Mm-hmm. We get into buds. Actually, how was it when you first got into the Navy?
Culture shock.
Culture shock?
Eye-opening for sure. I remember the first night, one of my biggest fears was laughing with the drill instructor.
You laughing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I was very concerned that, like, I'm just going to bust out laughing
with,
like, them yelling at me. But I remember the first night, like, they're yelling at you strip down like you're in a room of like 100 people or something.
Yeah.
Like put your shit into a box, we'll mail it home, and here's your new outfit. And I was like, what the fuck did I just sign myself up for?
Yeah.
This is selection or
No,
you're done?
like,
You're done.
No, I'm in boot camp.
This is day one
boot camp.
Day one.
And I'm
Okay.
like, oh shit.
What the fuck do I do here?
Yeah.
Like nobody preps you for it. Yeah. Next thing you know, you're in a room with 200 people. You're naked, and they're having you bend over and stick your head between your legs, and some dude's looking at your butthole. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
They line you up in an assembly line. They're just sticking you with needles. And next thing you know, they shave your head, and you're in a blue sweatsuit. I'm like, what in the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like,
That's a concentration camp right there.
Brother, when I joined the Navy, I had driven on the highway 3 or 4 times. Like, I didn't know shit. I didn't know my social security number.
Yeah.
I didn't have a banking account. I didn't have a cell phone. We had nothing. You didn't have a cell phone. Nobody had anything. We knew nothing. So when you showed up there and got off that bus, like, they're just screaming at you. I'm like, oh shit,
This is world
this
is
is
open.
very this is very different.
Yeah.
Boot camp for me was way more of a culture shock than Buds ever was. If I had to redo one, I'd do Buds way before I do boot camp again.
Really?
100%.
I see. Okay. How long was the boot camp?
8 weeks.
Yeah,
8 weeks.
2 months.
And then you go to Buds from there.
Yeah, I mean, he had to go to an
I went
A school.
to A school. Yeah.
So what's A school for civilians that don't know what that is?
A school is like a trade school.
Okay.
Mine specific was Master at Arms, which is essentially a MP, military police.
Okay.
And at that point, they basically had SEAL rate because SEALs didn't have their own rating. They didn't have their own trade school kind of pay scale, all that. So you had to pick. I think there was like maybe 5 or 10 ratings that like fit within like the SEAL kind of pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
And mine was MA because I was like, worst case, I don't make it through, military police. I wanted to get out and be an undercover cop. But 2, it's 2 weeks long. All the other schools were like 2 to 8 months long. I was like, no, I want to do 2 weeks and then go.
Done.
Yep. So yeah, that was my thing. Boot camp, A school, 2 weeks, show up to Buds.
Gotcha.
Yours? Boot camp?
Boot camp. My dad he was still kind of in. He was on terminal leave, so they had a spot right up here in Little Creek where he retired out of. They had a white shirt program, so all the guys getting ready to go to Buds, they'll stick you there, PT you, kind of introduce you in the culture, waiting for your class to class up. So I did that for a couple weeks, and then I went out there, so I was back home.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Just trained and showed up at Buds and checked in.
So you guys went to Buds at the same time?
I went probably 6 months before him, and then I got rolled in a Colts class.
Okay, that's how you got to get. Okay, got it.
What's the attrition rate? Or what was it? I'm not going to say what is. What was
80%?
80, 85%.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty.
I mean, my
crazy.
class started out with close to 180 people, and I say graduated with like 22 originals from that 180, but there was probably another 10 or 15. Like DJ rolled in to our class and a few others.
It's a performance role. You fail in evolution, or you get hurt. You blow out an ACL. They give you surgery. They like you enough to let you come back.
Gotcha.
Most of those guys, if you get hurt, if you're not post-hell week, you're gone. And there was a thing for a long time, right before we got there, thank God, if it was a performance role or medical role, automatically out to the fleet. So there are a shit ton of phenomenal humans just rolled your ankle on a wrong Tuesday, and you're out. And once you're at the needs of the Navy, the chances of you coming back are so slim that most guys get out after 4 years. Like, nah, I tried, I got hurt, could never come back.
Yeah. Jeez.
So, okay, that's crazy. That just shows how hard it is to be obviously a Navy SEAL.
You got a lot of luck.
Well, a lot of willpower. So, okay, you guys finished. 4 to 6 months. I'd say about almost same timeline, right? When you're done, what happens? Like, do you just pick something, or they just throw you somewhere? You go to an op, immediately start.
When you finish Buds?
Yeah, when you finish.
So
Buds.
before we finish Buds, we got a hell of a week. We got to talk about a couple things here. I want to know about some more stuff from that. So Buds, what does that entail? Like you said, a lot of running, a lot of swimming. We got that down. What else is going on? Sleep deprivation?
Well, I mean, like kind of the flow of it. You have NDOC, which is depending on. I mean, there's a whole phase of how many weeks that is, but NDOC, the initial 180 people class up. There's a lot of administrative things that. You're not just jumping right into Hell Week or getting wet and sandy. It's like, all right, here's where you live. Here's, just all the different admin stuff. But they kind of prep you, I want to say it's like 4 or 6 weeks or so.
So when you're getting prepped.
They're like physically and just administratively.
Gotcha.
Well, I mean, like they'll take you over to the O course and they'll have one guy, the class ahead of you, that'll show you how to do every single lobster.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So you're not just getting smoked immediately as soon as you get in there.
Yeah, they do for the stuff that doesn't take any brain power, like drop.
Okay, gotcha.
Every time you hear the word drop, you're doing 20. Next phase, it goes to 40. Then it goes to 50. Like, okay, so every time one of those dudes in that hat says drop, we're cranking out 20. Yep, done. And then all day long, you're just doing push-ups.
Yeah.
And then you go out and you do they'll give you a beach run. Like, hey, this is what soft sand is. They'll have a guy come out and he's like, hey, for you to make forward movement in soft sand, we run pigeon-toed, so you can actually push off the sand. If you try to run a normal gait, you'll just slide. You run in place. And okay, so they give you, like, practice rounds.
Gotcha.
Right up until you get ready for basically your first day of first phase.
Okay.
You get a lot of guys who get hurt, man. A lot of guys get jammed up, and a lot of dudes quit in doc. They're like, oh, I am not doing this shit.
See what they're actually getting into now.
A little bit of pool appreciation. So we do a couple screen tests in there just to make sure you're on there, and if you fail that screen test, you're gone.
Is it always failure, or do people get fired? I mean, I'm sure people get fired.
You get peer dropped and instructor performance reviews. You're not meeting it. You might pass all the physical standards, but you got a character issue they don't like. And
gone.
Gone.
You get a lot of egos in there that have to get checked immediately.
Not as many as you would think. As you get further along, yeah, there's definitely some egos, but I mean, everybody, you look the exact same.
Yeah.
You're all skinny, you're all pale, you all got a shaved head, you're all wearing the same stupid ass white t-shirt. I mean,
yeah.
Everybody's a nobody at that point.
So how long is Buds?
10 months or so.
Yeah.
In 10 months, and when is this Hell Week thing? I'm assuming all weeks are Hell Week, but there's a designated Hell Week, right?
First phase. Probably like the fourth week of first phase, third week of first phase.
And you guys, I heard that during Hell Week, you guys don't sleep for 5 days or something like that at all?
Like an hour, 2 like 1 hour naps.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest, or that's like the first real kind of pass or fail evolution, and where you lose majority of the class. You probably lose 65-70% of the class.
So how'd you feel when Hell Week's coming about? Because obviously everybody hears Hell Week, and they're like, even I haven't been there, and I'm like, I hear Hell Week, and I'm like, I'm fucking getting nervous for you guys. What is that like when you're coming up to that day? The day's here. What happens?
Well, they keep you in a room, like, because it always starts out on a Sunday, and like you have.
And then they just break out from there.
But like you stay in this huge classroom, and you're just hanging out, eating pizza.
Oh no shit!
Watching movies.
They soften you up nice, and then give it to you.
They take you out to the tent state to lay down and take a nap. Like, hey, lay down and sleep. We'll wake you guys up when it's time.
Nah,
let everybody get a
They
sleep.
wake you up with a flashbang or what?
M60's going off. Crash is going off. Smoke grenades. The whole thing. And it's just
fat and happy till the world's over. Huh?
Like for me, it was kind of a lot of performance anxiety, but it was almost like when you do something really fucked up in school and you know you're about to get suspended, and you got to figure out how to tell your parents. It's like that. Like, you know it's coming down. You just don't know the exact moment.
Right.
But you know you're getting close. Like any minute, and then nothing. Like maybe they won't come. Boom! The whole thing happens. Like, here we go.
I got a question, man. Okay, so you guys both mentally prepared yourself for the worst. I'm assuming, right? Like, oh my God, this was gonna happen. This and that. Was it worse than what you prepared, or was it better? How was it?
I think you have things made up in your head, and what you think is going to happen. I mean, I remember one. They're like, yeah, during Hell Week, you take the boats and you run all the way down to elephant cages. And that was probably like 6-8 miles away.
Yeah.
Like, there ain't no fucking way.
They're not gonna make us do that.
No. Oh yeah, you do.
Oh, you do. Okay.
Oh, yeah, you do.
At one point, they make you bear crawl that shit.
Oh, fuck.
And you're like, they're not gonna make you bear crawl 6 miles.
6 miles?
Nobody can do that. Yeah, you do.
6 miles?
Yeah.
Over and
Wet and sandy.
Oh,
they don't care, dude.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
like, you either do it or you won't, and you're like, dude, they ain't gonna make you do that. Yeah, they do.
Huh.
It's great. Like, some of that stuff.
Now, how do you get through that? Because now at this point you're like, oh
How do you
shit,
get an
this is
elephant?
actually not. This is real.
Well, we
This
even
is really
talked about the
happening.
chafing.
What?
I want to get to that
The
too.
chafing.
I've heard the stories about the chafing.
Dude, honestly, I was gonna go straight to old pro spot bud stuff because a lot of people talk about buds all the time. Like, we've heard whatever, but hearing
Feet
from you guys,
chafing.
I'm hearing things that I have not heard before. So I'm glad we're going back to buds thing. So please tell me what this is.
Well, first I'll start off with, like, this is where kind of some of my surfing experience and all triathlon stuff, like chafing, I've already had it.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal to me. Like,
So for the people who don't
surfing,
understand what
wetsuits.
chafing is, you want to explain it to them real quick? Even though I
Yeah,
know
so,
we understand it.
If you're wearing a wetsuit and basically it rubs essentially your skin raw.
Right.
Sort of like a rug burn. It just, there's some sort of piece of clothing that has created such a rubbing
Friction
rash.
on it,
Yeah,
yeah.
like it
Right.
creates a wound.
Right.
And I experienced it just with surfing and all that stuff. So I was like, no big deal. But
I mean, you got to take in consideration, though, that you're wearing camis and boots with socks, and you're soaking wet for 5 straight days, covered in sand. So the base of your neck,
Inside your crotch.
your groin, your armpits, like when they lift them up, it doesn't look human. You're like, oh my God.
It's an open wound.
So bad.
Yeah.
And it ain't going to get any better. Like, you're not pulling out for med checks. I mean, that's just, everybody has it. That's just what you do.
Yeah.
Rubs a bald spot on the top of your head from the boats grinding back and forth. And it's what it is, man.
You start off too, like, initially you always piss yourself.
Yeah.
Just to warm up, like you piss yourself. But after that chafing, you're like,
not anymore.
No.
Because it burns
way too much.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, I remember there was one guy in our class. He prepped before Hell Week. He shaved his nutsack.
Oh.
He ended up having to. I think he made it through Hell Week, but he had to stop because he got cellulitis on his nutsack from
shit.
From the chafing and the
Looked like
infection.
a grapefruit, dude.
Yeah.
It had drainage tubes in it. Like, it was bad.
Really?
But for me, like, I didn't have armpit hair. So when we do all these med checks, everybody put your arms up. They'd walk by me. Like, you shaving your fucking armpits? No, like, why aren't you shaved? I'm like,
I ain't got no
I
hair
don't
on
know.
them.
They made me go out there and pack my armpits with sand and make me run in place. They're like, you're gonna get it too. And it just, I mean, I'd be bright red. I'd feel the chafing, but I'm not bleeding like everybody else.
Yeah.
Just young and healing a lot.
The small things that affect you that you don't really know hurt.
I mean, dude, your feet, all your toenails come off. I mean, you're wearing wet boots for 5 straight days.
It's a lot of moisture, just peels them right off.
I forget how many miles you run over the course of Hell Week, but I mean, it's a lot.
What do you do if you got to go number 2?
No, usually people don't. Usually people don't shit for 5 days because you're burning so many calories. Everything you're consuming, you're just eating it all up.
Oh, yeah. I've experienced that. So when I went through my little state police boot camp, they said guys prior to me, like, hey, you know what? They like attack you so much, like you don't shit for 5 days. It's like, what do you mean? Like, don't you eat chow every day? It's like, yeah, you do. For some reason, you just don't shit. I'm like, come on, get out of here. He was right. Mm-hmm. I'd eat like 3 meals a day, and I wouldn't go to the bathroom. It was a weird feeling because it was just they constantly attack you. I mean, nothing obviously close to it, but he just didn't. I don't know if it was a nervousness, whatever it was. He just wouldn't go to the bathroom. I wouldn't think about going to the bathroom. There's not enough time, anyways, but there just wasn't. So
we used to call it tactical pooping. You got like 10 seconds to just manage and find a way to take a shit so fast. It's amazing.
You got guys shit their wetsuits on ocean swims. Like, you can't stop.
Yeah.
Like, you're on a 2-mile ocean swim. What are you going to do? You see guys getting decon. They pull down their rubber. Just their whole back's covered in shit. You're like, oh, brother. Damn.
Got to do what you got to do.
I mean, you got to pass the swim. If you don't, what are you going to do now?
Yeah. So do females, can females do buds? They
can now. We haven't had anybody make it. I think they had one chick make it the first phase, and she was gone in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Physiologically, it's not designed.
HRT is the same thing. Like, you guys know HRT. 1983, they were formed, and they've accepted female applicants ever since then, but not a single female ever made it. And they just hold everybody at the same standard. Like, no picking and choosing, none of that stuff. Females just never made it. It's so physically demanding, I guess. And biologically, men are generally stronger than women. So far, that never happened. They're hoping that someday one makes it, but none. Just curious. I just wanted to ask that question. 2024.
Forward. So, the buds.
Go
so, you guys get through buds. All right. I mean, get through Hell Week. I'm sorry. Hell Week sucked. Get to the end of it. How do you feel?
Oh, you get to put the brown shirt on.
The brown shirt? Oh, no.
Yeah.
What does that
Before
mean?
that, you were wearing a white stencil with your name shirt on. The brown shirt's like...
Now you're almost
you're almost real deal now?
Yeah, you're almost real deal.
You don't get to tell me what to do.
Okay.
And then they immediately just beat the shit out of you.
So they just beat you up again. Go right back into it.
Well, I mean, dude, it was right after that. We do a thing right after Hell Week. They give you like a walk week because everybody's got stress fractures and everything else. So they let you walk the chow because you have to run. It's 1.5 miles the chow each way. You're doing that 3 times a day in a conditioning run. So it's kind of a limb disc kind of PT. You'll walk now. You're still doing some circuit PT. They add in a little bit of weight, some stuff like that. And then we do Hydro Hell Week, which is old school, like Scouts and Raiders, World War II, lead line and slate, taking, depths on the beaches and drawing maps and all this different stuff. And that was one of the most humbling things because you thought kind of the fuckery was done. Mm-hmm. And then it's not. We messed something up and we came back. It was before I rolled into his class. And they brought us out there and they were pissed about something. He's like, okay, you guys want to play games? We're going to do 8 counts. We're going to do 1,000 of them. And we all kind of look around like, they ain't going to do 1,000.
1,000.
That dude walked out of that building with a cup of coffee and set that fucker down and did 1,000 straight 8 counts, and we all did them with him, counting off every single one. And you get to 100, you're like, he'll stop. He's got to go home.
Yeah.
200, you're like, he'll stop. 500, you're like,
we're gonna be here for a while.
Eventually, he's gonna stop. 700, you're like, nope, we're going the whole fucking way. Here we go. And we were out there for hours, dude. And he never stopped. Just kept cranking me like, oh, man.
Fucking animals.
Like, we just crested this thing.
It's scheduled. They do it to every class.
Right.
Did you guys ever have that Full Metal Jacket moment where some Gormer pile just screws up and you guys just soap that shit?
No.
Does that ever happen? Like, not to say beat
them
them up, but is that one guy that just screws up, everybody gets punished, and you guys just
have a team talk.
Yeah,
team talk, team conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you get some lightning rod dudes that just bring on some unwarranted scrutiny. I'll be honest, I was definitely one of those dudes because everybody who was associated with me always got dropped with me. So if you were in proximity with me and they called me out, you're getting beat with me. So if me and him are running the chow, they'll stop us in the middle of Orange Avenue. Shipley, yeah. Drop! My God damn it! Drop whoever's with me. We're doing them to him. I'm sorry, guys. It's like, fuck it.
Yeah.
You're gonna do that till you grow some armpit hair. That's it.
Well, also you got to tell them the story. Not to bring up parents again, but because my parents surprised me after Hell Week, and I know your parents came out after Hell Week too.
So my dad had retired, and he was doing contract work with Blackwater. So he was overseas in Afghanistan or Pakistan doing whatever. And when I graduated when I graduated Buds, my mom flew out there to pick me up. It's kind of. It's what they do. You know, if you're married, your wife usually picks you up and you are a bloody pulp. You're just a bag of shit. And my mom came, picked me up, and I ended up missing the bus back to the barracks. It's like 500 yards, so I had to run back there. We complete med checks. We wake up the next morning, and she's in my room at 8 a.m. She's like, okay, get dressed. We got to go out to the O course. I'm like, for what? And she's like, I got to take some photos. She made me run the O course. I'm in blue jeans and Teva flip flops running the O course so my mom could take photos. Like, so I had to run the whole O course. She's like, do the big slide too. Doing the whole thing. The cadre's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Come on, Mom.
Mom wants photos, man. Gotta get some photos done. But, yeah.
What was yours like then after Hell Week?
They surprised me. It was cool. You know, they recognized it was a big accomplishment. Although long road for sure, but getting past Hell Week's a big thing. So it was a good surprise. So it was not taking photos on the O course by any means. Yeah. You know,
it's just crazy how you guys are so close, but so many different aspects of things here. But I want to push forward past that. So you get past Hell Week. Buds is finished. What happens after that? You graduate. You try dance. What happens?
Second phase is diving. So like say you lay a basic foundation on a house down, like first phase, and then they're building on it. Second phase diving. Third phase kind of some general demo weapons, basic land warfare stuff.
Okay. Really basic.
Yeah.
Well, how many phases are there?
3. So then you graduate, but at our point, you would go to SQT.
And SQT is what?
Yeah, SEAL qualification training. So that's a little more advanced, a little intro into CQB, a little more advanced demo, night dives, double ship attacks, planning mines, and doing all the stuff. But it's very, very basic.
So do you guys have your tridents at this point?
No.
Okay.
But it feels like you're a super soldier.
Oh.
No, we got him in the SQT.
Yep.
Oh, actually, before we even started, we finished all of SQT, and then we have to go out to Kodiak, Alaska, and do winter warfare. Yeah, that was a winter warfare. Yeah.
So at that point, so you guys are still training, obviously. So you're done with Buds, and you're going through a lot of training, right?
And a lot of it's on the road too. So you're doing long range nav and a bunch of different stuff.
Gotcha. And how long is that training before you guys are saying, okay, hey, Shipley, Cole, you guys are deploying to wherever?
4 months, 5 months?
Yeah. 4 to 6 months.
4 to 6 months.
Do you feel ready after 4 months of whatever training you had that, you know what, you can go and hit a compound over in Afghanistan?
You don't do that yet, right? You still have to go to your team, and then you got to get turned up on
But
things.
in your mind, because you're so much better than you were a year ago, you think you are. And then when you actually get to a team, you realize, like, dude, I don't know shit. I don't know anything. Like, I'm physically in shape. I can do whatever. But I don't know anything. Like, you don't know how to sight in a gun. You've never seen night vision. You've never seen a laser. This is brand new in the GWAT. So a lot of the stuff the guys get today, we never saw. Like, we never put on night vision. No one ever gave us a class on how to do it, how to focus them, nothing. So when you show up to the team, you're less than nothing.
So let me ask you this real quick. 9/11 happened. Where are you guys? After 9/11 is when you guys got in, correct? Mm-hmm. What is the thought process? What's going on right now in the world when you guys are here? And what are you thinking? You guys thinking you're going to war? What is your mindset?
Oh, for sure.
Hurry up.
Yeah. In boot camp, I was watching the initial air campaign on the TV. I was like, all right. And even in Buds, they're like, all you guys are going to war.
Really?
Uh-huh.
So
you see the new instructors cycle back through, like, oh, that just guy got back from Afghanistan. It'd be like little whispers, like, oh, do you know who that guy is? He's like, oh, he just killed like 25. It's like, the guys just start to, these little mantras, these little like subgroups of guys, like, oh, they just came back from Afghanistan. Like, whoa.
Well, Steph Bass got his Navy Cross at our
Buzz graduation.
Okay.
So back then, you're right. There wasn't really a war. I mean, there were some.
So Afghanistan had kicked off, and Iraq was starting the spring of '03. So that was brand new. So all the guys we were getting were Afghanistan guys. Maybe one or two that did one pump to Iraq, but it was so new that nobody knew anything.
Right.
Like, there was shit ton of cadre. You had the guys that were leading the whole place who'd never been to combat, just for the timing of the whole thing. Yeah. And we were just right at the perfect timing. This whole thing's just creating momentum, but everybody kept telling you, like, we don't know how long this is going to go for.
Yeah.
Like, thinking about Grenada, Panama, Somalia in '93, like, these things are going to be a flash in a pan. They're going to go so quick you don't want to miss it. So that's our big thing. Like, we got to get to fucking Iraq. We got to go to Iraq, got to go to Afghanistan. I do not want to do a 20-year career and never be in a gunfight.
Deploy.
We got to go. And that was my biggest fear, is we're going to graduate, we're going to check into a team, and the whole thing will be done. It's like, how do we get there as fast as humanly possible?
Gotcha. So that's the thought process you guys have right now. Got it. So now you guys get out, you pass all your schools, everything you have to do. How do you get involved with what team you're going to?
They put you in a big-ass room, and it's normal Navy orders, man. A detailer chops you orders. So they call them out. These are all the guys going to the East Coast. Team 2, and they call out a list of names. Team 10, list of names. Team 4, list of names. All the West Coast guys. And then they ask for volunteers for Team 10. They're like, we need, 10 guys to deploy early. Bunch of hands shot up, and this dude's hand shot up.
Yeah.
And they're like, you got orders to SEAL Team 1.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want to go to Team 10. I'm like, well, that's not a thing. And I don't know how the fuck they let him do it. He's like, anybody want to swap me? And one of the dudes is like, I don't want to go to the East Coast. I'll swap you. He's like, they literally hands him a piece of paper, and he's like, I don't know if you can do that. And they do. Yeah. They call the detail. They literally swap the name, and that dude was driving back to Virginia Beach a couple days later with me.
Because they don't care. They just randomly draw the names.
You're a dude. You're a magnet on a whiteboard, man.
You're a number.
Yeah.
Wow, that is super cool.
I was lucky because I only think like 3 people got West Coast orders. And a bunch, I mean, you give them a dream sheet of like, hey, I want to go to this team on that coast. Most of the time you don't get it.
Right.
But, I was one of the few that got the West Coast. And when they asked for volunteers again, I was like, I'll swap orders.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So Team 10 is what you went to, which is East Coast.
Yep.
And then Team 1 was West Coast.
Yep.
I see. That's pretty cool. So I was talking to Neil McLean about this. Like, there's some difference, right? Like the West Coast teams and East Coast teams. You can enlighten me on this.
West Coast guys are way more sensitive.
Amen to that. East Coast.
There's a friendly East Coast West Coast.
Okay. We already know East Coast. No matter what we're talking about, East Coast.
There's always a banter between the two, but I mean, they all have their same responsibilities.
Right.
At that point, everything had changed with the wars going on, so everybody had the same kind of roles.
Gotcha.
So training wise, there's so many different teams. Do they have different expertise, or everybody's got similar training?
Pre-war, you'd have those guys who do like PACOM, they do Guam and a bunch of that different stuff, like just areas of responsibility. Team 4 South America, so all those guys spoke Spanish and all that, and Team 10 was this hybrid model that really stood up after 9/11. Like, let's just grab guys from every team, put them all together, and then we'll just surge them forward. So now we got to figure out how to get all these different bodies through Iraq and Afghanistan in a logical manner. Now West Coast, the exact same thing. So now we're all just sharing operating spaces. So like our very first deployment, we had Team 4, 10, 5, and 7 all in the exact same compound.
And when was that? I wanted to move on to deployment, because I'm assuming you guys got to your teams, Team 10, and you were what? Team 10?
We were in the same platoon.
Yeah, and you guys just train. And what year was that when you guys assigned, and then when did you have your first deployment?
04, deployed in 05.
Yeah.
So 1 year of training, and then boom, you're going where?
It's kind of a brief Baghdad.
Baghdad. How was that, man?
It was good. We had a mix too, because we had the PSD requirement, so like personal security detachment, so like covering the Iraqi president, the PMs, all those guys, and then breaking up to nighttime DAs, direct action missions, and hitting targets, but split between BIOP and
RPC.
Yeah, basically capital.
Yeah. So how long before you guys are actually able to go out there and do your operations? Because you got to do your wind up, whatever, get all your training done, all that stuff, get training with your team.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, you check in the team, you do the admin stuff, they put you in a platoon, you meet your platoon chief, your commanding, your OIC, all the different players, and then you start doing training trips. So a CQB block that's 6 weeks long, and all you're doing is shooting all day long. CQB, explosive breaching, kind of seeing the whole thing. Do a big mobility block, you're out the middle of the desert, long range nav, living out of the trucks. Fire maneuvers with vehicles, just learning how to do all that, driving courses and PSD courses and everything else. And then you basically start to tailor that down to now it's just compound assault, building and repetition. And I didn't know what to expect. Like, we do these training hits, and like, I guess that's how we do it. Like, I don't have anything to gauge it off of.
Yeah.
All the other guys, nobody had been to Iraq in our entire platoon. We had a couple of guys that went to Afghanistan, but very small action, just assets and everything else. So pretty junior force for going over there. But I mean, I thought we were as prepared as we could have been.
Yeah. I mean, our first trip when we checked in was to Shaw's in Walls, Mississippi. So got all the great shooting, great introduction to that, and CQB. And then it was a 4-week-long trip because then we drove in 15-passenger vans to Kentucky,
okay,
where I broke my ankle.
Ooh.
How did you do that?
That's right.
Jumping out of, so like they have a mount facility, you know, made up buildings, and I was jumping out of a window and snapped my ankle.
That was pre-deployment?
Pre-deployment.
And obviously that didn't stop you deploying, so you probably healed pretty quickly.
Yeah, I had to have surgery, get some screws in it. But my resilience was pretty good. I was used to being injured and coming back. And jump back in the train.
What'd you do to get that healed that fast?
Nothing. No, I mean, I was 20.
Yeah.
Like, I was young.
Yeah.
Man, 20 years old. Like, it's crazy, right? 20 years old, 17, 18, whatever. You were like 19, I think, at that point, right? Mm-hmm. Are you guys 2 years apart or 1 year? 1 year. So 19 and 20. Yeah. When I was 19, I'll use the word. I mean, I just was. I had no clue. I had nothing. I think I was making $8 an hour. I had no idea about anything.
Making money, though?
And here these guys are out there just like fully kitted out, just doing their own thing. That's pretty cool. So you guys had your first deployment to Baghdad. You're out there how long, and whatever you can share. What did you guys have to do down there?
The first 6 months long.
We spent 5 months in Iraq, and then the Navy thought it'd be a really good idea to let us spend about a month in Germany, in Europe.
Bunch of young guys.
Were you guys single?
Yeah.
Single.
Yeah.
Say no more.
No commitments.
Yeah.
A
little bit of
financially.
Checking out.
Yeah, just 6 money, just racking up.
Yeah.
Ready to let it eat.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. No kids came out of it, though. So good.
But you know what?
No.
But yeah, exactly.
No.
Spread
Pretty cool. I love your.
That was good, though. I mean, it was busy. We went kind of all over. I mean, it was sort of the wild, wild west. Like, I mean, again, we're 19, 20 years old, and go.
You guys are unstoppable. In your brain, there's nothing to stop you. Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that was really surreal was just the IEDs, because nobody had any experience with it. And down on Route Irish, that route we would drive every day, I mean, the majority of the people that got killed in the Iraq War got killed on that road.
Yeah.
And we didn't have armor. We didn't have turret armor. We would just sit in the tops of these things, damn near naked as a jaybird, just blowing down Route Irish in the middle of the broad daylight, just waiting to get hit by an IED. Not a care in the world. Like, I can't do anything to stop this.
Yeah.
And we would just miss them. We'd miss them by 5 minutes here. You'd hear them blow off behind you. You'd hear them blow up ahead of you. You know, there's a striker on the side of the road that's flipped up, that's killed everybody in it. And if you wouldn't have got stopped at the gate on the way out, you would have hit that thing. And you keep missing them over and over and over. And it was exhausting, man. Because after a while, you kind of get numb to the risk.
Yeah.
But it's still in the back of your mind, like, I can't do anything to help this. If they blow us up, they blow us up. And they were getting so good and so technical. I mean, just everything you're doing with the EMP or EFPs and everything else, just they were very, very accurate. They were good, man.
You guys were losing a lot of guys out there?
Well, Red Wing happened on our deployment.
Not in the SEAL teams. Like,
that's what I meant, on the teams.
Not in Iraq.
I mean, you hear about this West Coast guy that got in this crazy shootout and it shot his Copenhagen can of his shoulder sleeve and this and that. But up until that point, no. Like, we lost Neil Roberts in March of 2002. We lost Dave Tapper in August of 2003. We lost Tom Retzer. A handful of guys, but they were all development group guys. And it felt like it was getting closer. And then when Red Wings happened, that's when we lost all the guys in Hilo in Afghanistan. That was our sister platoon.
Yeah.
So we're watching the thing on ISR, and it's like, that was such a culture shock, because the SEAL teams aren't used to losing people. My dad did 24 years in the teams, and the only training, or the only funerals we ever went to as a family were training. He has a bad jump, he gets killed in a rollover, like something, but not like that. And to lose that many dudes that close to home, it devastated the whole community.
You guys want to touch base on Red Wing real quick, so folks who don't know?
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen the movie Lone Survivor with Marcus Luttrell, I mean, 4-man reconnaissance team from SEAL
those are development group guys, right? Or no?
No,
they're regular. Okay.
STV guys and a bunch of West Coast STV guys, and then Danny Deeds from STV2 from the East Coast. They get a hard compromise, get into a gnarly firefight, and basically have to roll off the backside of a mountain, and they're lost for days. They call in a quick reaction force from Echo Platoon. They consolidate 2 birds into one, send them in, and right on final, they got the Night Stalkers from TF-160th, the greatest pilots that have ever flown a fucking helicopter, without a shadow of a doubt. And they get shot down. It kills everybody on board.
How many?
11 SEALs, Night Stalkers, 4 Night Stalkers, 6 Night Stalkers?
Yeah.
I have to go back and look. Like, gosh, it sounds fucked up, and now they all kind of blur together between that and August 6th and a bunch of them. But but 11 SEALs from us, and it just, nobody ever expects that. But it showed your vulnerability. And dude, it was hard, man, for my family back home, like trying to justify that and why it's not going to happen to us, and try to manage their expectations. But I mean, dude, we were kept in the dark for, I felt, months, dude. Really? We didn't know the manifest. We didn't know how many dudes were dead because everybody else that we knew from our buds class was in that platoon.
Yeah.
So by the time they came around to show us the actual memorial video, they've already put these dudes in the ground, and we still don't know who's dead.
Right.
When they came out, they played us the video, and I mean, dude, they've got Jeff Lucas. They're pinning his son, who's 6 years old, with his medals and all this shit, and I'm just water working, dude. Like, I can't keep my shit together because that's my life. Yeah. That's all of our lives, and just being that young, and that's your first exposure to SEAL teams. That's your first exposure to war. Is a really hard thing to compartmentalize, man. And so it took active participation to do so.
Did that event make things a lot more real for you at that point in time? About how vulnerable everybody is, no matter how much you train, I don't give a shit how good you are. One mishap, you're gone.
Yeah, and even if there's no mishap.
Yeah.
Like, you could do everything.
You don't have to do anything wrong, right?
Right. Yeah, you don't have to do anything wrong. That could just
get lucky one day, bad timing, wrong place, wind blows one way, and
yeah.
I mean, look at those SEALs. They were on a chopper. They didn't do anything wrong.
No. And it's not like you had shitty pilots. Like, you can't pick better pilots on the face of the earth. And if it happened to them, you look at everybody else and you're like, what's in between me and them?
Yeah.
Nothing.
So what's your thought process at that point in time? This happened. You guys thinking that you got to train more? What are you thinking now?
I just want to kill everybody.
Yeah.
Like, personally, I just wanted revenge. Like, I don't want to say I was disappointed to go back to Iraq on our second pump. I think everybody wanted to go to Afghanistan. It felt like more of a worthy cause because you got to see the towers fall. The Iraq thing, they were doing such a negative spin in the media. Like, it's for oil, it's for this, it's for that. And, being a 19-year-old kid, like, I don't give a shit about any of that.
No.
Like, those dudes in Afghanistan said they were going to do that, and we called their bluff, and they did it. Well, this dude's got WMDs, and he says he's going to use them, and now we're going to go in. Well, I don't care if he's got them or not. I'm not going to take that chance again. I'm into it.
Yeah.
Like, to me, birds of a feather, man. Like, one's as good as the other.
So you want your revenge, which I think that's very reasonable. Every normal human being would want that. I mean, I would want that. Now that I hear about it right now, years later, I'm like, I get upset just thinking about it, right? So I'm not even in your shoes. So do you eventually get deployed to Afghanistan, right? Did you, let me ask you this. Did you get your revenge?
Over the course of a bunch of deployments, yeah.
Okay.
But it never, I mean, we had guys, one of the guys who was on the ground, Danny Deeds, ended up marrying his widow 4 years after he passed. We met and all that stuff, and we had guys come back from deployments that brought her back his wedding band. They recovered his ID. Like, they were actively targeting those people. So, it sucks you're not on those kind of ops, but it's cool to know that the boys are actively pursuing this entire thing. So I'm stuck in Iraq, but these dudes are actively hunting these people. And it's like, every time you hear that, it's like, okay. Yeah. Okay, boys.
We got you.
Like, still out there doing God's work, still making it happen. I mean, it was cool.
Gotcha. So, all right, and I'll get to that, the whole revenge part, because I'd like, if you guys are willing to share a story or anything like that, I'd like to definitely hear. So you guys are in Baghdad, 6 months, you're back, and you're doing your SEAL Team 10 training. Did you guys move around? I know there's other groups within the Navy. Did you guys do any other jobs? any other teams?
Different schools? Yeah, I mean, when you get back, there's essentially a period of time that not only can you take some time off and a little vacation, but like that's when you kind of ramp up with schools.
Okay.
Breaching, comms, JTAC, sniper, all kinds of those different schools, and you get into a workup and then kind of another time period of prepping for another deployment.
Would you say U.S. Navy SEAL, like, people always talk about like the Tier 1 operators, the Delta Force guys, and there's the Green Berets and a bunch of other units out there. Would you consider U.S. Navy SEAL as like a Tier 1 group?
There's levels.
There's levels to everything. What I would say is, knowing what I know now out of everybody we've ever worked with, if you are not operating in all the environments, I don't think you're worthy of the conversation. If you're not diving, jumping, and doing the compound assault, if you're just a one-trick pony, it's very hard to say you are a Tier 1 dude.
Gotcha.
But at that level, at SEAL Team 10, no, you're not a Tier 1 asset. That's really a funding, that's a responsibility that comes down from the president who you're actually working for. So there's only 2 Tier 1 units.
Who are they?
Development Group and Delta.
Okay,
I mean, you got an element from the Air Force that's part of that whole thing, but direct action assault, it's just those 2. It's the same thing with the UK. There's only 2. So people throw that out. Like, people just classify everything as Tier 1. Yeah. There's only 2 Tier 1 units.
And that's true. People talk about it all the time, and I don't know, obviously, and you guys are the right people to ask for about this. So Delta Force, people, they're known, obviously, around the world to be a Tier 1 development group, obviously. Are there any other ones in the United States that you, and this is not to put anybody else down, I'm not saying that, but just as you just said, if you're not operating in every environment, you don't consider it Tier 1. That doesn't mean they're bad.
They can level, like, change your tier, because again, it's more of a measuring scale, not only on funding but responsibility on what exact that mission is. Like when we did PSD, that's Tier 1, just because of the level and responsibility what that was.
Right. It's not real Tier 1.
Yeah,
they classify it because you get extra funding lines, but you're not a Tier 1 action arm. So like you have those 2. You have one from the Navy, one from the Army, and then you have the Air Force guys, 724th STS, which.
Would you say Tier 1?
They are.
Okay.
So they're supporting elements for the Army and Navy side, but those are the CCTs and the PJs, and they are fucking phenomenal, dude. Like, I taught their Green Team course for 3 years right when I retired, and they're amazing, dude. They're great.
Oh, good. I honestly didn't know about them. I mean, I'd heard about them, but I didn't know at that level. I just knew the development group and the Delta Force folks. And so, what is it in Navy SEALs? What does it take to be a development group guy? I'm assuming that's going to be a different thing.
It's like a different level of buds.
Oh, so you got to go through another.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta screen for the selection class, and you don't always get picked up. The guys that do, the attrition rate's the same as buds. Smaller class, still probably a 80% attrition.
And I heard you got to get invited to it too. Like, you don't just. Is that right or no? Almost.
It's probably changed over the years. They used to send out invitation letters back in the day. I've seen a couple guys that have got those and some rumor mill, but I mean, you fill out a special request chip. I'd like to screen for this unit. And it gets passed around the team. Do they want to let you screen? Your head shed has to sign off on it. You have to do a physical screener. You got to do a psych eval, service record scrub, everything. And then if they want to see what you have, then you go there and you screen. It's a week-long process.
All right, so if you are because I'm sure even in the Navy SEALs, just like in every other profession, there are guys who are really good in their team, and there are guys who are kind of mid-tier, and then there are some guys kind of like they're meeting the minimum requirements, let's just say, right? I'm assuming if you're one of those SEALs who are kind of like meeting the minimum requirements, they wouldn't accept you to apply, or you could still apply and kind of like get through. I mean, I'm just saying, would they take the best of the best from any SEAL teams?
Yeah, but a lot of it's the unknown.
I see.
And just from being over there, you lose track of everybody else who's not there. So once you've been there for 4 or 5 years, you don't know who's behind you, who's trying to screen. It's really you're relying on a lot of the guys who you know or guys you can call back, like, how is this dude? So a lot of it's like the buddy network. How's this dude really? Is he a piece of shit? How good is he at this? Like, oh, he's phenomenal, you'll love him. And then sometimes they make it through selection, sometimes they don't. We've seen dudes that are world class. I mean, dudes that I put against anybody. They get shit canned the first week, and you're like, how does that guy not make it? Like, I'd cherry pick that dude. Yeah. I wouldn't even put him through selection. I'd just send him up there.
I mean, I'd say we were lucky as new guys too, because when you look back at the original crew of like one platoon guys that, you know, we're looking up to, and we're brand new guys, like I would probably say 80% of our first platoon went and made it through before us. And like, so really like we were being, I wouldn't say we were being groomed, but we had the experience of that kind of level of talent, people.
I mean, in our first platoon, we had 9 new guys that have done nothing straight out of buds, and then 9 old guys that had done 1 platoon or more. Out of the 9, 7 of the old guys went, and 7 of the new guys went. Like that's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah.
And on 7 on both sides, made it through.
Really?
Like clean through, first try.
Yep.
Straight through.
Nice.
That's crazy. And that selection is, how long is that selection?
8 or 9 months.
Yeah, around there.
Oh, it's long, dude.
I mean, the biggest difference is, I think, too, between buds and that selection. Buds, if you show up and you perform, you do the standards, cool. Not much thinking. The selection to get a damn neck, like, extremely physical, but extremely mental.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say way more mental than physical, but physical still too. I remember looking at him, we're going through, I was like, I don't know if my body can take, like, if I fail out of this and try and come back, I was like, I don't know if my body can.
Because everybody's older. You're more broken. You've done 3 or 4 platoons. Like, I mean, you're worn down. You've never taken a break. Nope. Most of the guys that are in there haven't done a shore duty yet. So you've just been doing 2-year cycles back to back to back. So by the time you get there, I mean, we were really fortunate because we had a couple months off to get ready to go. Most guys don't. You're coming straight off of deployment. Like, you're still shitting Afghanistan chow, and now you're checking in trying to go. So a lot of guys don't have the prep time. But I'll tell you what, man, like, it's anybody who even tries, hats off to you. Because most guys don't want to. Because if you fail, it really pulls your man card, and your reputation is based on your success in that course. So a lot of dudes don't go. They want that big fish, small pond mentality. Like, I'm not even going to try that. There's no reason. We're doing the same thing, and they tell themselves that. We're doing the same mission. It's the same thing. We're all SEALs, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That could not be further from the truth. The dude who's been on both sides, the difference is vast.
I'll say DJ and I had a very different prep getting ready.
How? Okay, I want to know about that now.
I put 2 leave chits in and spent 60 days on the North Shore of Hawaii.
Dude, surfing?
Surfing.
Nice.
What about you?
Have you seen Rocky IV with Dolph Lundgren?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was me. Well, that was me and the whole class minus him. We trained 7 days a week for 6 straight months. Lacked absolute threshold. I mean, we had easily one of the top 3 strength conditioning coaches that has ever lived. Do everything from diet, sleep, recovery, everything we did. Set us all down, pulled all our shirts off, put us in a biodex, got all our body fat percentages. He goes, what do you want to look like when you step in there? 6'1", 250 pounds, under 7% body fat. Done. How many times you want to bench press your body weight? 35. How many pulls for 45 pounds? 35. How fast you want to be able to run 5 miles? This fast, that fast on a swim. Done. We wrote them on a whiteboard, and we checked everyone, and every dude we showed up with was a freak.
Yeah.
Dude, this is insane.
We lived that the entire time, and I told him, he's like, dude, you're going to burn yourself out. And I looked right at him, I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm exhausting every resource, and if my wheels fall off, so be it. It won't be for a lack of effort.
Yeah.
And that was me. That was my defining moment. I was like, I don't care. Like, I just want one day. I want one singular day in that place to see if I have what it takes. And if I don't, then I don't. But it won't be for a lack of preparation. I'll tell you that much. That was the best thing I ever did for myself.
I was hearing how hard it is to be a Navy SEAL, the buds and all that, and now you're talking about this. This is like a different level.
It's so much harder.
Yeah.
I go back to buds in a heartbeat before I go to the green team. In a heartbeat. It's so much harder.
Yeah.
Did you experience the same thing?
And how hard it was?
Yeah, because you know how you were saying earlier,
yeah,
like everybody's threshold is different.
You know, it sounds like I wasn't preparing. Spending 60 days on the North Shore, but I spent 60 days in the water every day for 6-8 hours. So I wasn't just sitting there on a beach or whatever.
Yeah.
When I came back, like, I think it was a good mental reset for me on that, of just like not only having a lot of fun, but like, you know, I was naturally staying in shape, and came back and kind of picked up with them the last 4 weeks right before it started.
Guys been through it together?
Yeah.
Nice.
Man, you guys are best friends for life, brothers for life.
Our first trip in selection, you live in this big house, and there's probably 50, 60 guys in this house, but we had a room that had 3 bunk beds or something. And as that trip is going on, there are just people, like, they get dropped that day, they are on a flight that day. They're out. And so, like, rooms are opening up, beds are opening up. and no one in our room failed. Like, we didn't want to break like the mojo. Or like,
room
you guys
for
want to move?
activities
You know,
now, huh?
we're like, nah, nope. Superstitious at this point.
Well, it was me and Cole and 2 officers, and they're like, "Hey, rooms are open up. You guys want your own rooms?" I'm like,
No.
"No, I mean, you're my good luck charm, brother. You ain't going fucking nowhere, brother.
Not
You're
leaving.
leaving anywhere." Yeah.
So is it that there's selection and then you guys go through a green team, right? Is that 9 months green team included?
Yeah. So selection's like your initial. I mean, the entire. We have dudes that don't get drafted. You go through the entire process, and they do an NFL draft at the end. We have guys don't get drafted. They're gone.
Bro, how hard would that suck?
We have guys last run of the very last training evolution have an ND or an AD.
Gone.
You know, my buddy Jim, he was saying that green team is so wild that you do like CQB days, like nonstop. You can't stop. You don't slow down. You got to make the right decisions. You make one mistake, you're out. Like how?
Jimmy was one of our green team instructors.
Yeah.
And it's literally 4 a.m. to like 10 p.m. every day.
That's like,
You got
how
guys
do you
sleeping in their
not
cages because they're like, I'll get more rest if I just sleep here. Yeah.
It's insane. Like, how do you not screw up?
And they don't tell you how you're doing. So you're like,
So
you have no idea, like,
constantly
am
on
I,
the fucking edge, huh?
like,
Yeah, I know.
and we've seen dudes that I would say are hands down way better than us. We're like, you got rid of that guy? Like,
Why?
shit, like,
I must be
why am I
next.
here?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I heard that too. Like Neil called me. He was talking to his buddy. Just made it through. Just most recently through the development group. He's like, he called Neil. He's like, dude, they just passed me. I'm honestly not sure why. Like guys who are way better than me, they just got dropped. I'm not sure why I'm here. The guy had no clue. He's like, but I'm here. So I don't know how that works. I mean, maybe you guys could shed a light on it. But it sounds like not only just being a Navy SEAL, obviously how hard it is and how much it's a dream to a lot of people, right? To a lot of folks, younger folks who want to get out there and do it, and they can't because it's so hard to get in there. And on top of that, the development group, like my hat off to all of you guys. It sounds insane. Something I couldn't do.
Over the years, they've really tried to quantify like what makes someone pass, or like what's their background, what's their experience, and some of it they attribute like, all right, they come from broken families, but I mean, Brad's done a really good, I guess, kind of quantification and study on key character attributes, and resiliency is a huge one on it. Like however you've experienced it.
Yeah.
But you see it between you guys. Exact conversation we said. You don't have a broken family. You don't have a broken family, but you have 2 different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Based off what you're saying, one of you 2 shouldn't have made it. You know,
No, for sure.
That's the furthest thing we're talking about.
Wrestlers are another one.
Right.
Wrestlers and surfers do notoriously well in buds.
Yeah.
They do well.
You know, physical resiliency on the wrestlers.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then the water comfortability for the surfers, they historically do really, really well. And then for green team, it's really just how well you can bounce back from not doing good enough. I mean, it's so stressful, but you'll do a room entry and you'll stop where you're supposed to stop and you'll do your pans or whatever. There's a guy above you, Shipley. Take a half step to your left. Take a half step. Take a quarter step to your right. Right fucking there. Okay? Tire drags, and they just beat the shit out of you. And you're like, okay. He's like, I said 6 to 8 feet. And I'm like, well, I was at 7 feet. He's like, I said 6 to 8. Roger that.
Yeah.
Mentally tougher.
Just do it. Don't
Well, I
question
mean,
it.
like,
Just do it.
but I mean, they'll do scenarios that aren't even really set up to trick you, but just because there's so much pressure happening, you'll get tongue-tied. You're supposed to say hands, 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 or get down, or whatever it's going to be, and you're just,
Yeah.
Stressing
what's
out
wrong with
the
you?
way.
It's like, you can't even speak. You see guys just shaking like their guns come up, like,
And these are SEALs.
dudes that have had 3, 4. I mean, some of the most decorated dudes that have fought the GWAT have gone through selection and not made it. And you're like, how? It's like just that performance on demand right there. You have to get it perfect.
Yeah. So much.
I mean,
a whole
it's
lot.
like for me, it's worth it. Like when you look at it, the finished article, and we got to work with every other unit. There's something about everybody going through together in the exact same thing because you come from the exact same culture. Everybody wants to be the very best you can be.
Yeah.
But we all had to do the exact same log PT, the same surf torture, and everything else. Like we've gone through every single wicket together. So by the time you get there, most of the guys are idealist in nature. Like this is a pinnacle. Like you want to play for the Patriots? That's how you get there. Like, okay.
When you guys graduated BUDS and became an actual Navy SEAL, got to your teams, you guys probably got the FNG thing, right?
Oh,
the
yeah.
new guy. What about the development group? You don't get that? You're one of the guys right off the gate?
No, I'm not going to go that far.
Okay.
There's definitely a lot of just shut the fuck up and open your ears.
Yeah,
Just do what we do. Just
you're
ignore
on
us.
probation.
Yeah. You don't get
team patches, nothing.
Yeah, you don't get any of that. You got to earn your stripes. You got to do a combat deployment. You come back, and now they vet you that entire time, and they are on you like white on rice.
So what's your first combat deployment once you get out?
Through that?
Yeah.
Oh shit, you deployed before I did.
Yeah.
And I'll dime this motherfucker out right now because I'm pretty sure he violated a bunch of stuff in the Navy. He never went to high-risk SEER school. Like, you have to go to high-risk SEER.
Well, too late.
And somehow they fudged the paperwork. And
he looks good when he's hurt.
I had a deployment I had to go to.
Yeah.
Well, you had time for that.
Well, he's never done it, so he's not a real Navy SEAL because he's never done high-risk SEER.
Gotcha.
But he looks good.
But he looks good. Because he's handsome, he gets away with that shit.
Yeah, and I made sure when I got back, I was like, oh, I got to go to these schools. So, like, there was never any time that, like, people like, hey, didn't you not? I was like, no.
Yeah, I got to go.
Oh, crap, I forgot to go to school.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we finished. I'll just talk about my thing real quick, and I'll hand off to Cole. But we were going through, and we do a huge jump block, just skydiving Monday through Friday for 4 weeks out there. And first or second week, I broke my hip, snapped off my femoral neck.
Jesus.
I know all the boys saw it. I couldn't lift my right leg up. We're still doing PT, and we went in, shot some imaging, thought I tore my hip flexor, and I'm just sucking it up. But I can't lift my leg up. Like, I'm just dragging this thing. So they see it. They know I'm not going to quit. I'm doing fine in the air. Everything's fine. Like, okay, we'll get you through this, and then we'll get some further on images. By the time we came back, we're just back on more training trips. So we basically get through. We go out to Utah for like the final culmination exercise. Now, that's when the draft happens. So now everything's done. They tell you what squadrons you're going to and all that, and everybody's cheering, doing all this shit. As soon as we came back from that, I had to go in and shoot images on my hip, and I've still got a 85% fracture in my hip.
Jesus.
So emergency surgery, pumped in 15 inches of titanium, and then this guy, he actually deployed to Afghanistan. You caught the last 2 months of deployment or full pump?
Full pump.
Yeah. So he graduated Green Team early, deployed overseas. I'm doing a rehab. I relieve him, and yeah, they flew a physical therapist out there with me. So I finished my rehab in Afghanistan.
So how was your deployment?
My first one experience, go back, so early when I was at Team 10, I had a chance to deploy with the team I actually ended up going to, which was an amazing opportunity and exposure to how they operate, the assets they get, just all the gear, the mindset, just the level of performance they're at.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a deer in the headlights a little bit. I had a little, at least, familiarity with the team I ended up going to. But still, it's like, got that performance pressure, that next level up. But I feel like the exposure that I got when I was at Team 10 was like the lethality that they have, like the professionalism. Like, I mean, it's truly like going from NCAA to like NFL champions. Like,
yeah,
like holy shit, and really like that is what we signed up for. What we got at Team 10, it was great. Nothing bad about it, but it was like, when I pictured coming to SEAL teams, that was it.
Yeah.
That is what I wanted to be a part of. Like,
those guys.
I grew up surfing when I was little, watching, like, seeing like the climbing walls, like, and every day you still had to like earn your spot there. It wasn't, I'm here, I can coast. It was always like leveling up and continuously growing. And I was lucky with the team I went to. It gave me every opportunity that I wanted. I was hungry, and it was busy for sure. Even in my experience when I was at Team 10, when I went with this team, I mean, it was super busy.
When you say busy, you guys getting into shootout? What are we getting?
Yeah, I mean, I say between 06 to 09, those teams, normal deployment, kill 400 or 500 dudes.
Okay.
Some air, ground, everything. So like, had that exposure.
Gotcha.
And that's what I was expecting.
So was that your first time getting an engagement there, or did you have engagement before that?
No, there was one in 09 I had. Yeah, there was one in 09.
In Iraq? Iraq, okay.
But that was like my only one.
That was the only one.
Was it like a close quarter?
09?
He was 09.
09.
Close quarter or distance?
Open field.
Open field.
Was that your first kill?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, when we got there, did the first deployment, all-night ops up in, northern Afghanistan, and it was everything I wanted.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, just the freedom of movement, operating, getting that vengeance, everything from 9/11 to, you'd see these Army guys getting blown up, and it's like, I want to stop it.
Yeah.
And, it is a drug. It is highly addictive.
Now, how did you feel? I'm going to get into this a little bit, physicalities of things and mental feeling of things. When you got that first piece of revenge, where you're able to actually do your job, what you put out there for, and you got in that first engagement where you put somebody down, and they were a threat, obviously. How did you feel after that? Did you feel anything? Lose sleep?
It may sound fucked up, but accomplished. Serving my country.
No,
what I signed up
sound
for.
Fucked up to me whatsoever.
No, yeah. Patriotic. If we're not doing it here, they're gonna come and do it at home.
Yeah.
So I won't say I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
But I felt
recoil.
I felt patriotic. This is what I served to do.
Yeah.
And I want to keep doing more of it.
Gotcha.
I don't think anybody should expect you to feel that to be fucked up, because you have a job, and there's actively, as you said, you're watching your Army guys are getting blown up. We've all seen those videos. I've seen those IEDs going off and soldiers flying in the air in pieces. I think anybody who's normal would want to get out there and just do exactly that and be like, good, now I want to go do the next one. That's how it feels, right? When you see your own people are getting blown up, right? I feel like that is completely normal. Anybody who thinks fucked up, I think they're fucked up. That's my view, and they can go F themselves. That's the way I look at it. So with that being said, you had your engagement over there or whatever, and then the development group, that's a different type of missions, right? You guys get different type of missions, which crazier stuff. Do you have any, each one of you actually, do you guys want to share any stories that you're feeling comfortable to share?
There was, on the first deployment, there was one engagement that was pretty close CQB wise, but kind of goes back to your training, just did how we trained it. It wasn't hairy by any means on that engagement.
What was it like?
We were up in the mountains, super, steep slants, these huts built, into the mountain. And we went up the valley and just, it was a firefight all the way up. And I laugh about it, we were just doing work and it was great. No issues. And it kind of was at that tempo every time. People always say, I want to get into a gunfight. I want to shoot my gun. And it's be careful what you wish for sure. It's better to sneak up and not have to get into the gunfights. And you can still accomplish the same mission. But it is good to be able to take care of business and do that. There's a few unique ops on that deployment that were historical to me, and my own kind of mindset and stuff.
What country?
A different one.
Okay.
Let's go country, but give us a little bit more details.
Different one.
Country.
Yeah, minus country.
I
like how they're looking at each other.
We don't have to go. Let's not even go country, but give us more of a detail. What's going on? What was the op set? What exactly?
I'll put it this way. I didn't do a damn thing on that. I was just on that. And we got revenge for 9/11.
There you go.
So,
amen to that.
How many casualties on the other side? And were there any on yours side?
There wasn't. I wouldn't call them casualties on our side. There was definitely some injuries long term on guys, just on a hard crash, but
Gotcha.
6 guys or so. But
on the other side, 6 guys.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
So DJ, let me hear yours, man.
Yeah.
First engagement. You get over there. You want to handle business.
Over at the command or back to Team 10?
First engagement, wherever you were.
Mine was at Team 10. We were in Iraq, and we were going after a cell that had shot down a Marine helo and stolen all their gear. So our turnover op on 2007, those guys got into big contact and getting in shootouts with Mooj out there wearing U.S. fatigues and body armor, shooting M4s with ACOGs on them and lasers and night vision, the whole thing. So we're slowly but surely tracking down that cell and trying to get these guys. And we finally narrow them down this super shitty spot. And it was a big counter-Iranian push we were trying to make. A lot of the foreign fighters were pouring in. We're trying to get these guys. And just to make a long story short, we've been hunting these guys for a long time. We do a helicopter infill and we walk. God damn it. It feels like we walked for hours. Weaving away through this countryside and dogs are barking. You know, just everything's really eerie. You can feel the weight in the air. Just every step you take, it's like, I'll date myself with a movie quote that you won't fucking know. It's like the Highlander with the quickening. Like when you get around one of you can feel it kind of radiate.
You wear the same eyeliner though, so
yeah, there you go.
Well, like you can feel it, and everybody else could too.
Yeah.
So you know we're getting the ISR updates and all that stuff, and we're about to make a compound assault, and everybody's eyes shift from the front door to the rooftop, and we got relayed from one of the JTACs, hey, there's 3 or 4 guys on the roof, they're sleeping. Like, okay, easy. What they didn't say is that they were most certainly not sleeping. The house that we just walked past about 10 minutes ago had ran over there and woken all the dudes up, and they were gearing up. They had sandbag perimeters on this roof aimed right at the cupola, so you had to basically just imagine a big flat roof, just a hole in the center of it with stairs going up. Mm-hmm. So the only way to get through it is to essentially pop your head up and walk on top of the building. So we're all getting set. We make a hard entry, and it's like a ghost town, first deck. There's nothing there. Make a beeline straight for the stairs, start to make movement up to the stairs, and right when I crest that thing, there's a dude probably from me to many, running at full speed with a pistol. Boom, 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 boom.
Shit.
Unloads. I shoot him. He shoots me. Take one of the fucking plate.
Oh, okay.
We roll down the stairs, and we immediately roll right back to primary entry point and just start lobbing frags on the roof, just over and over, everything we had.
Did you know you're hit at this point in time?
No. Okay. Had no idea. We're lobbing frags off, and then we get a call, hey, somebody just jumped off the roof. They're moving to a tactical position. So we basically flank this dude and shoot the guy in the field. As we're doing that, grenades start coming off the roof. They land in between our platoon chief, our terp, our corpsman, and our comms guy. Blow them all up. Not super bad, but frag in the crotch. Ooh. So inside of the thighs, deep.
Yeah.
From me to you, landed right in the middle of them. So it took them all. And so we're trying to deal with that. We're trying to deal with that whole nightmare. And, in the course of that, we're trying to get back up on the roof. We're trying to figure out how we're going to do this thing. And what they're not relaying is after that initial engagement, when you shoot that guy, one of the guys stands up and pulls off a suicide vest and throws it right in front of the stairs and reels back a command wire and is sitting there with a dude with a PK right next to him, holding it, ready to clack it off as soon as we make entry. We don't know that. And one of the guys, God rest his soul, Mark Weiss, grabbed one of the dudes in the courtyard, grabs him, perfect English. You fucking live here? Uh-huh. Who's on the roof? It's my cousin. Go tell him to bring his ass down here. We never trained that. We never talked about that. That's never anything we've ever practiced. It's like a modified call-out. Yeah. Like, launches that stuff, he's like, I got it. Yeah. Guy walks up the stairs, gets right to the point I was, and he's like, Mahmoud, and stands up, and as soon as he crests that thing, his buddy cuts him in half.
Whack him on. Jeez.
Folds him in half, he falls down the stairs. We basically got to try to bound back. How far was that building? 200 yards, maybe?
Yeah. We hit a separate building when this was going on.
So you guys were doing a joint operation at that point?
Yeah. Oh, you were on that op too?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
So we're basically trying to bound back to this building because we're trying to get the high ground to shoot the guys on there. We can't get ladders up there. We don't know where these guys are. We just know grenades are coming off and there's multiple armed people up there. But the only way to get back to this building is to take one of the new guys. It's your wet dream as a new guy. You've been carrying this heavy-ass A-dub, this light machine gun, and you never get a chance to shoot it. Typically, the new guys carry it, but the days of patrolling to contact for us weren't really a thing, right? You put them on blocking positions and all this, and we grabbed that new guy, and we're like, I want you to run out 50 yards, I want you to turn 180 degrees, and I want you to dump that entire box on a roof, and as soon as you do, we're going to run underneath you. He's like, done.
Amen.
We start lobbing up grenades. He runs back out 50 meters and turns and unloads a 200-round box out of a saw right at the front of the building. Wah! Never let up. We all ran underneath him, straight back. We tagged him out. Now we're laying down suppressive fire. We all get on the roof. And we're trying to get shots at this guy, and you can see a line of sandbags, and you can see legs. So we're trying to engage his legs. We're trying to get him to pop up so we can shoot this guy, and it's not working. He's not dying. And they end up calling a danger close fire mission. And one of the 40 mics hits this dude and blows him in half. Jeez. His legs invert and just start doing flutter kicks. It is kind of comical because you're trying to shoot this guy. Your nods are really foggy.
I love this.
I love the look on your face.
Yeah, your nods are really foggy.
That's good stuff.
There's no ambient light, so you're trying to focus, but you can't really see shit. There's just 25 lasers you're trying to shine on this guy. You're trying to take shots, and then they're trying to relay on. They're like, hey, the thing you're shooting at isn't a dude. It's a half a dude. Oh, he's like, well, there's nobody else on the roof that's alive. Oh, well, let's pack our shit and leave. So we bandage up all the boys, and we kind of roll back. But in the course of that exchange, and that's a lot of the story that I leave out, is when I got in that initial contact, I got off essentially half a bill drill, 3 to 4 rounds, and bolt locked.
Oh, shit.
That happened the entire night. Boom, boom, have to rack it. Boom, boom, have to rack it. Boom, boom, have to rack it.
Why?
So what happened is development group had just switched over from Colt M4s to HK 416s. And they had a shit ton of those HK mags that they gave to everybody, and they weren't chambering rounds in our Colt M4s. You had to file down a little bit of the mag, and nobody knew it because you're so young. You don't know that. And I know people are like, why don't you get the flat range? Because you got so much shit going on. You'd never think the magazine's going to fail you. Just they're brand new.
Right.
We jam up, I threw them in there. So as I'm doing that, I drop the source, I grab a new mag, and when I go to jam it in, I cut my hand open. We didn't wear gloves back then, so I cut my hand, I dropped the mag, I'm like, God damn it. Grab a new one, go back to work. For whatever reason, we don't carry dump pouches. I've never seen a Navy SEAL that I respect that has a dump pouch. That ain't a thing. I pick this fucker up and I shove it in my cargo pocket for no reason. When we're going to Exville, it's me, Jason Redmond, and a couple of the dudes, and we're in the door of the 60, and as soon as we lift off, I pull that thing out and I put it right in front of my face and I focus my nods, and it looks like a starburst coming out of the back of it.
Is it a bullet?
What the fuck is that? I shove it back in my pocket. We get back there, and as soon as we touch down, all the lights are there on the actual HLZ, and I hold it up, and there's a fucking 45 round straight to the center of it.
Oh, is that what sucked up the shot?
Yeah, it smacked me right in the chest. And it was funny because we were
doing
doing
the mag.
So that HK 416 mag had held it, and we had heard a story, a year before that about a Marine who was just wearing a slick down Rhodesian, no plate, and took an AK around to a HK 416 mag, and it stopped the bullet because they were steel mags.
Jeez.
And I'm pulling this thing up and I'm looking at it and I drop it back in my carrier, the exact place it was. And I had all my demo. I was a breacher at the time, and we used to run capped in.
Yeah.
So all your initiating devices are all taped in. That thing missed my cap, 1/4 inch. If that thing would have hit that cap, that whole thing would have simply.
Boom, boom.
Yep,
please tell me you have that mag to this day.
I ended up giving it to somebody who I don't speak to anymore, so he has it hanging on his wall.
Who is he? I'll find him for you.
Oh, I think we know who it is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it was super cool. Came back and it's like, that's a little token.
Jesus.
So yeah, for me, people talk shit on the internet. It's like, why you wear your plate so low, so high? Yeah. I'd never wear that for real. That's why I say, I got shot in the chest early in my career, and I ain't never changed my plate since.
Yeah.
They work for me. But yeah, that was like my first dose of in-your-face combat. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but 99.9% of all my engagements are inside of 10 meters. I mean, they're close. Most of my engagements are inside of 10 feet. They're real close.
Yeah.
It's to me, that's very different than being in contact from 200 meters out or a sniper shot. When it's that close and you feel muzzle flash, it's very, very different.
Yeah.
And I think you absorb so much more of that just experience when it's so flash in the pan. Holy, you've seen the movie Snatch?
Yeah.
Make a funny face.
Yep.
It's like that.
What movie is that? What movie is that?
Oh man, God, we got to get you good, man. Yeah, but that was like my first one up and close. You could feel it, and then the reality set in. And then on the backside, not a lot of people in the teams up at that point had taken rounds in the plates. I mean, there was one other dude on the East Coast that had one kind of similar. It was through a wall, but the narrative that came out, and you got to remember that I grew up in the team. So my command master chief grew up. He did 24 years with my dad. They were thick as thieves, best friends. So the only word that gets back to my parents is DJ's been shot, status unknown. And it went like that for fucking 2 weeks, dude.
Jesus.
My parents don't know.
That.
So when I call my mom on the Iridium, dude, it's hard to quantify what she sounded like on the fucking phone call.
Oh, I bet.
Just crippled.
Yeah.
Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I don't know she knows.
Yeah.
And she's like, what's going on out there? I was like, nothing. We're not doing shit. Everything's benign. I'd always tell them, we're not doing shit. We're not, because I don't want them to worry.
Yeah.
And she's like, we heard you got shot. I'm like, who the fuck told you that?
Wow.
Yeah.
The whole story starts to unravel. It's like, okay, I did, but I'm totally good. It hit me in the chest plate. And my dad, you hear him in the back, he says, so fucking cool. Yeah, man, I'm good, dude.
What kind of plates did you guys have at that time? Steel or
some ceramic, something or another. Actually, if we're being honest, they were kind of handmade because we didn't have traditional plate carriers like we have now, standalone plates.
Yeah.
So because we were rebels, we would get issued a full ear Mitch helmet, and we would take a jigsaw and we would cut the ears out to make half shells, like all the
shit.
tier
What
1
was
guys
the
had.
reason for that?
Comms, just more comfortable, lightens up the helmet, it looks sexy,
Yeah.
it's cooler, it's streamlined. And
Gotcha.
then for the plates, because we didn't have standalone, we'd take your soft armor, set it on the table, put your ballistic plate on top of it, and take a hot knife and cut that fucker around, and then border stitch it, and we tape them together to make standalone plates, put them in the inserts.
Nice.
You're not allowed to do that,
Yeah.
but what are you going to do? That's what you need to. If not, you're wearing 4 layers of shit. You've got a soft wrap, and you've got hard plates, and you've got a rhodesia. That's not practical.
Yeah.
You got to modify gear.
Yeah, people on the internet think that that's really cool to wear all that stuff. Good luck wearing that
It's
days
terrible.
and days and days and hike on them.
It's terrible, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of stuff we talk about now is how if you don't modify that gear for your specific task, it becomes so uncomfortable that it robs you of all the bandwidth you need to actually be successful on target. Like, he's had it too. Radios and different amps and all this different shit. It starts making it so miserable on the walk-in or the actual optic. You're not thinking about the op itself. You're like, I just want to get home.
Yeah.
I want to take this bullshit off. This is so uncomfortable, and it really robs you of that whole processing all the way through. Like you should be, as you get closer to target, getting more heightened sense of awareness. I'm more developed in my process, and now I'm thinking about how they think. I'm thinking about the moon, the wind, and the dogs barking, how I'm going to pre-position myself to counter whatever movement they're going to make. And you can't, because all I can think about is this spot right fucking here where that Peltor is digging inside my head. I can't think about anything else.
Yeah.
It's like your gear modification is really an art that has to be under constant refinement all day.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm assuming every mission dictates.
Different.
For a lot of them, you can get away with doing the same thing, but when you're in teams, you'll be a breacher one night, just a plain assault, or maybe you got some big pouch for all your charges. Now you rip it off. You got to put something in its place, or we're always getting swapped back and forth. You got to be an A-dub gunner when you're younger. Got to strip off all your M4 shit. Now we got to have a heavy weapons kit to go on top of. Just constant modification, ever so slightly, but yeah.
So
Gotcha.
I had a question about dump pouches.
Oh God, here we go.
So
He's the guy. He's the
you
movie guy, by the way.
said no. What would you say about something about SEALs not having
No respectable
SEAL has a dump pouch?
I'm going to say something that'll piss everybody off.
Go, please. That's what I want to talk about.
I've never seen a dude wear a dump pouch in real life that I thought was worth his weight. Never.
In a
That
real
is an admin constraint that people get. I'm putting my mags in these bags. Somebody said that shit on a combat reload video. He's like, you just let your magazines drop on the ground? Yeah, they're empty.
Somebody told me that too. And I'm like,
I'd run back to the base and I'd just get more. And like, we always pick our stuff up. I bet you've never been in a real one.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
That's so funny.
You want to run around doing CQB with a dump pouch with empty magazines bouncing around?
clanking
That's how I know
all
you don't
over.
know what the fuck you're talking about.
so okay,
No.
dump pouch. So you in real world operation, you guys don't wear dump pouches, right? Just
In training, we don't wear dump pouches.
There is no dump
There
pouch.
is no dump pouch.
It's not a thing.
really, because
Like,
a lot of SWAT guys
they're
do.
a little collapsible. You roll
Yeah.
up to like an SSE bag, but for a magazine retention, like a traditional dump pouch, never.
Okay,
I've
so
never seen
here
it. No.
I'm gonna just say this. I like mine, and again, I'm
Oh,
not an
God,
operator.
here we go. Tell me
Wait,
everything I need to
hold
know about
on.
you in one
Hold-
fucking shot.
Wait a minute. Let me
The
explain.
movies, the dump pouch.
eyeliner.
What else? The eyeliner. Yeah.
I saw it in a movie. I don't watch
Either
movies.
you're SWAT or you're not.
So I like them at a flat range, not like magazine. Shut up.
Sometimes you just got to stop talking.
The comments are just going to tear you apart.
Wait a minute. Just let me explain.
Okay.
So I like them at a flat range because I just put like water bottles in there. I put extra shit ton of ammo there because when we're down range, because it really does work for us. Because
So
when
it's
I'm
rangism.
filming, I don't want to just go all the way back there and just grab more ammo. So I just throw a lot of shit in there.
So it's a rangism, and it really started with the Marine Corps. Is they didn't want to drop their magazines down; they'd be able to pick them up. It's like it was a static rangism. Stop putting your magazines down, so you have to bend over and pick them up. Just put them in this pouch, and then they started carrying them overseas.
I don't do that. I never do that. I never just empty mag in there. I don't do
The
that.
amount of people that I've seen, I know he's seen it too. When you start throwing bangers, 9 bangers, they start bouncing around rooms. The amount of people that I have seen a live banger go into that dump pouch, more than a dozen times. Like,
Oh shit.
there's no reason. How many guys I've seen catch a doorknob at full speed and rip their shit around and blow their nods off because that dump pouch snags on things? Just for that alone, absolutely not. Like,
very
people ask
defined.
this all the time, like, why don't you guys make a dump pouch? Because I'd never sell a dump pouch. I don't recommend you wearing a dump pouch. I don't care what it is.
So-
unless it's rolled up and stowed, get it away from me.
Oh, it's serious question. At a flat range, like what I described, not necessarily empty mag and put it in there, just like throwing extra stuff when you're down range 100 yards. you don't want to walk back to the bench. You carry extra ammo in there, snacks or water bottle, whatever. What do you think? Do you think in that kind of setting is that okay, or you just don't recommend it at all? Just so you don't want that habit to be developed.
Would you, if you had to go from the flat range to go run into a mall to go save a bunch of people, you gonna have that dump pouch with your fucking water bottle in it?
It would be part of my gear, of course, because it's there, right?
Snack hazard.
Gotcha. Good point. I'll modify.
I mean, just for us, we see these guys that roll them all up. They're nice. They're rubber banded in. They're
Cole,
sleek.
just say it,
It's
please.
cool. But, I mean, for that, like,
we got to do a belt build video anyway, so we'll make sure.
just can't give me.
This will lead right into that.
Aaron,
guys.
stop laughing. You have a dump pouch too. I know.
When do I use my dump pouch, though?
He has a dump pouch. You only show you videos.
What did he say? He said some things. Just because you're feeling self-conscious about things, brother, don't bring it my way.
I openly said I have it. I like it.
The crab.
But then
the crab
DJ
technique?
just brought a good
own it.
point.
He just own it.
He brought a good point. I'm like, okay, I'll modify. I looked Cole right in the eyes, and I said, I'll modify.
I judge people on dump pouches the same way I do with people that run fully collapsed carbines that are over 6 feet tall.
What? Fully like fold ARs?
No, when they fully collapse
collapse
them
it.
and they don't extend them at all.
Oh,
Sitting
I see
there
what
like
you're
that.
saying.
And it looks like looks like a gorilla on a tricycle. Like, it's so uncomfortable. And they can't run that gun at full speed. And you ask them why, and they're like, oh, it's better for CQB. Is that how you shoot on the flat range? You're like, well, no. This is just how I do it for CQB. It's like, oh, so you got multiple different types of kung fu you got. Oh, okay. Well, talk me through it in reality. Like,
I'm not that guy.
Well, for this, I'll extend it one. No, you won't.
I'm not that guy. I mean,
Just train. Just train the way you're always going to do
All
it.
right, let's get back to you guys. Talking about what you're doing. Here we
Fucking
got
dump pouch.
Kyle down.
This guy took me off on a fucking tangent. I apologize.
Editor, please take that out.
oh, well, no, leave that shit in.
Jesus.
No, all right. No, I think these little things, man. People, this is true. Like, people drink the Kool-Aid all the time. Some guy does it. Everybody does it. I think these little things, which is like a snag hazard. I never thought about that. I've got over 11 years law enforcement experience. I never thought about that, and I always learn. And I just learned that, and it really does make perfect sense.
Well, it's just like, you know, you see everybody that clips their ear pro, their peltors on the side of their helmets. Like, why don't you want to do that? Jump out of an airplane, they blow off.
Like, come off, right?
Yeah. And then they get caught in the risers, and you have a malfunction, you have a premature toggle fire. Like, all these different things, we've lived through them all.
Yeah.
So when I see it, and they're like, that's how I do it. But you ain't done it for real.
Yeah.
If you have, you'll know why it doesn't work. Like, everything we do is for a reason, because it's damn near killed us, or we've watched it kill our friends. So dump pouch, why not? I could give you a million reasons why never to have it. Noise reduction, snag hazard, 9 bangers go inside it, all kinds of weird shit. It's a noise signature you can never get back. Once you have that decimal out in reality, you can never retain it.
Yeah, like, and I sincerely mean it. Like, after this event, like, we joke around, whatever. Dude, I don't know anything. I'm always here to learn. I'll go home. I'll literally dump that. I'll dump the dump pouch. Aaron, you can take over from here.
I'm going to
ahead.
keep my dump pouch on, just deploy it when I need it.
See, you have a dump pouch. I see.
What,
Okay.
What did he? You got to listen to everything. He said a
If
bunch
you have
of
a
things.
little,
So
turned
moving
up,
back to you guys before Kaya takes over himself over there.
Dude, if I didn't watch this guy at the range,
Jesus Christ.
yeah, you
I gotta
got
deal with this
that's
all the
dangling like a nutsack all the time. I watch it.
Like your dump pouch, just like your dump pouch. So let's get into some scenarios here. You guys deployed overseas, man. Civilians look at tier 1 guys, we'll call it, as, I mean, the badasses of the world. You guys can't be touched. Nothing happens but you guys taking over the world. But we know in all reality, and I'll put myself a little bit in there, I've been in some fucked up situations that I don't care who you are, we're human beings. There's some scenarios that we're fucking scared to death, but you still handle business. Give me a scenario, Cole, of an operation where you were in a scenario that you were like, this may be it, man. If you could share some details of it, thought process, feelings, what you felt throughout that. Loss, whatever it may be.
Two. One was up in northern Afghanistan, super mountainous. Like, we ended up landing right around like 14,000 feet.
Okay.
And it was such a high like AGL, like the aircraft lift capability. There were 4 of us that got off the helicopter, we were literally right on the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. And we literally had 4 hours to go about 8,000 vertical feet, essentially 4,000 vertical feet down, hit this target and get 4,000 vertical feet back up, but every foot out was a foot down. So extremely steep. And they did all the aircraft rotation, got us all in, and immediately just started getting pot shots. Not like effective fire from people, but just kind of, we got shot at from Pakistan from some big guns and like just kind of surrounding in the mountains. And it was sketchy because of the timeline of like when first light would come up too. It's like first light comes up, helos aren't coming to get you. You're staying over day until night. And we probably got about 1,000 vertical feet down. And we had aircraft that had that capability of like, hey, we're getting radio chatter that's like, we see them, we're surrounding them. And like essentially they were surrounding now from the top where we just came from and kind of the bottom where we came from.
Oh shit, you're getting pinned basically in the center.
Yeah. It's not great to fight uphill by any means. And started, kind of getting a little effective fire at us just from some different directions. And again, the radio chatter makes it kind of a little scarier because they're like, all right, we're getting close. We can see them. We can hear them. And at that point, there's, probably some first-gen night vision that's just floating around from Russia or wherever. And it was definitely sketchy. And we probably took a long pause, 20 minutes or so. We ended up calling some fires in from fast movers, dropped a couple bombs on what they thought were heat spots and people that they identified with weapons. So they made the call, we're not going to go down the rest of, the 3,000 vertical feet, but we dropped the bombs, we need to go check that out. So we walked, 500 vertical feet up, another 1,000 feet across. It was a warm, steaming pile of shit. Nothing else. No. But I remember that night, it was such a tight timeline. People said they surrounded us from the top, the bottom. I was like, how the fuck are we going to get out of here? We ended up going back up where we kind of landed from and got taken off, and not a big deal. The other one was they were doing these kinetic strikes on a high value target. They were kind of fucking it up because they, for collateral damage, you can only drop bombs so close because you don't want to injure, innocent people and surrounding it. They finally dropped one on the guy, didn't kill him. They could see it all with the ISR. These guys come and pick him up in a fucking wheelbarrow. You can't make it up. There's wheelbarrow and his legs hanging off and just, you can see it. The HD balls had progressed so well, you could really see it. It was like high def, right. TV. They mess up another drop and he gets into this town. And so we're kind of starting the whole mission process of, all right, we're going to go in here, kind of take care of this guy. It sucked because it was super dangerous area, and we were actually staying where the guys from Extortion got shot down in 2011 in their same beds, same base, everything. So it's very, very familiar. It was just a year after, we're staying there. And at that point too, it's like you had such an opportunity, but it's what we signed up for. And so kind of as the mission starts planning, the whole, wheel starts turning. It probably took until midnight to make a decision of all right, we're going to go. Which really, again, we only had about 4 hours, of course. And, because we only had such a short timeline, we couldn't offset. We basically had to land on a pretty close X on the target, basically within 100 yards or so, because we couldn't even do it a little bit further offset. So we had to land pretty close. Now they're getting, again, radio traffic of let's wait until they come, because by now we've been doing this MO for 10 years. Americans drop bombs, helos come, forces come, we'll wait for them to come, and then we'll hit them. And again, it's just kind of when the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, you're like, God, we're better than this. Yeah. You're gonna put this whole force at risk because is it really worth it to hit right now? But it was a opportunity, and you don't want to go back cross border and different stuff. And everybody, to the most senior guy, is fuck. Even the ground force commander, our head officer of our troop, was calling back, we're not doing this. And our CO was yeah, you are. Yeah. Orders are orders. So we all get on the helos, and then more chatter comes all right, and they're able to kind of triangulate where some of the traffic's coming. And it's literally right where our HLZ is. It's fuck. this isn't good. And again, they're like, just wait until you hear the helos, then come out and start shooting at them with RPGs and heavy machine guns. And so helos do this little lift off. It's just a quick test. Set back down. Helos lift off again to take off. We're all just kind of like, fuck it. Today's our day. It is. And, but everybody didn't have a hesitation about it. It's like, we're going to go. They flew about a click, 1,000 yards. Turned around, sat down. We're like, mission's off.
Yeah.
Didn't go.
You guys got on and left?
Yeah. Like, we just got back off the helicopters and left. But, like, to me, that was the sketchiest thing of, like, you have so many threats, like, we're just going to go into it, and it didn't happen.
Have you two ever been shot, like, besides that incident?
Blown up frag and stuff, but not shot.
No.
Gotcha.
Yeah, blown up a bunch, but
Really close.
no.
So you guys, do you even know how many deployments you guys have had at over total? I mean, if you don't.
Nine full, maybe 12 total, like partial deployments. Anything under 90 days doesn't really count. I've got like a 60, 70-day deployment, another one's like 80, so they don't really count, but a lot of guys just count them in their unofficial numbers.
Yeah.
But you got guys with some serious numbers.
11 total, but like DJ said, some of them weren't full length.
And during deployments, you guys go all the time, right? I think that's what I was told by some of the guys.
You get like weather dependent. Yeah, you get weather dependent. You get a bunch of stuff like that. All just depends.
But generally pretty active.
Cycles, assets, yeah.
So, Aaron, unless you got something else, I want to...
Hold on. I want to go back to DJ now. So, same question. I just asked Cole. He gave me 2. If you could give me 2, that'd be great. I know you've got more than 2.
Where I didn't think I was going to make it?
Well, you didn't think you would make it. This was the shit hit the fan, and it was... If you have loss in front of you, you're dealing with loss simultaneously. I mean, give me something there.
It definitely my... on that 2007 deployment with Jason Redmond and those guys, chased some dude. Long story short, that night I got shot. The rest of that cell we tracked down. They were literally in the house right next door. I mean, 50 yards. We land on the X. We do a compound assault, fucking ghost town. And they call up and like, hey, we had some movers. They ran out in this field. Grab your team and go out there. So it's me, Jay, and a handful of the guys. We essentially get online. We start walking through this field. It's probably 6 to 8 foot tall grass. I mean, you can't see shit, dude. I mean, it's nothing. There's not a star in the sky. Oh, jet black. And when you say zero lume, a lot of people don't know what that means in terms of night vision, but you have to have ambient light in order for the night vision to work. And if I put you in this room, I black out everything, you can't see me across the room.
Right.
It looks like pixelated. It looks like a TV fuzz. You can't see anything. It's the exact same thing out in the ambient conditions. You have to have a laser or something, and it's so black. From me to you, I can't see anything.
Right.
Like, we're all by feel. So at a certain point, we locked arms in this thing, and we're trudging through it. So you imagine a big-ass open field. Just imagine a football field, 8 foot tall grass. And in the dead center of it is an IR sparkle from the gunship showing where the guy is. Mm-hmm. Just pulsing on the ground. And we're just walking towards it. As we get closer and closer and closer, we get real tight. We're probably 12 guys abreast. And we're walking down 10 meters, 5 meters. And you can hear the guy, the pilot calling us in. He's like, 6 feet, 5 feet. I mean, heart's going out of your fucking chest 1,000 miles an hour. And everybody, the guy to my right, has his carbine in one hand with the laser on and his hand over his nuts at this point because you think we're going to get contacted from a low line. Like, we're all expecting to get shot between just above the knee and just below the belly button. That's where they're going to shoot you at this point. And everybody's staring down at a 45. At a certain point, there's an all stop. Stop. Third guy from the right, you're standing on top of him.
Oh, shit.
Should be right there. Like, there ain't
Below
nobody
ground?
there. There's nobody there. You're like, kind of looking around, nothing. But in the course of that, we're all walking online. Half the group didn't bump their radios over. So now we're not on the same channel. So when you hear the all stop call, they never get it. They continue moving past.
Oh, shit.
This whole element turns 90 degrees and we all start walking. There's a big open field off to our right, and that's where we're trying to get to basically re-attack the veg from this side. So now we'll be in open terrain. We'll re-attack from here. These guys don't get that call. They keep going. They probably get 50 meters. Now they realize it. They start doubling back. At the same point, we crossed over. So now we're all aimed back into the bush. They're now ran alignment, and that dude was laying in the ditch. We stepped over him. Just never saw him. He's laid in a ditch, and now he's facing us. So we're all looking into this big, tall grass. You still see the sparkle, but now it's right in front of us, and the friendly forces are directly behind him. We're in a Polish ambush right now, but we can't communicate with them. We're trying to hit them on the radio. They're on a different channel. They're on channel 1. We're on fires, whatever it is. We can't get a hold of them. And we've never really had a debrief from all the guys who are on the ground, so that's where this whole story gets kind of fucked up. And this is the way I remember it. And we are going to sit down with the boys, and we are going to do an unveil at this at some point. But what I remember is Jay Redmond, a guy Matty, the corpsman, the JTAC, and our Terp were basically all walking up right to the edge of this thing. And I had a super gnarly feeling. I'm like, this fucking dude's going to go white hot. I know he is. They're right at the edge of the grass. I mean, 3-4 feet from the grass. And as I'm looking out, I'm probably 10, 12 feet behind those guys, directly behind them. And I see Jay, I see the other guys, and they're kind of scanning the ditch. I'm kind of looking around like, there's nobody fucking out here, dude. Like, do we chase a dog? Is it a goat? Like, what is it? And you hear someone say, hey. As soon as he said, hey,
Start firing.
Belt fed went off, and everybody dumped. Damn. Everybody hit the ground. The only dude who wasn't shot right then was a JTAC and me. There's a tractor tire basically right behind me and a couple rows of trees, maybe 30 feet over to one side. As soon as it went off, I sprint for the trees, and he runs and dies behind the tire. And I guess there were multiple guys moving around the battle space, bad guys. So I'm basically pinned down behind this tree on my back, and I can't tell if that dude is shooting at me or if this guy is flanking me, but it's all over me. I mean, helmet's canted, I can't see shit, there's no ambient light, and there's just dirt getting pounded in my face. I mean, it's all but fucking consuming me. And I'm kind of waiting for the lull to happen. I can hear guys yelling, hear guys screaming, I'm hearing shooting, and I look over the corner of me and I see Jay, the JTAC, behind the tractor tire, and I'm yelling at him like, I've got an out this way, come to me, come to me. And the whole timeline's kind of collapsed in my mind. I can't remember how long it was, but it wasn't very long. And Black Hawk Down, which you probably haven't watched, he said, fuck you, come to me. So when he says it, in my mind, I went back to the movie. Come to me, fuck you, come to me. Yeah. And I looked up, I've seen everybody, Jay's on all fours, the corpsman's fucking leg shot through, the other guy's shot, they're trying to drag everybody back, and I kind of had that realization, I'd rather die as a collective than be the lone survivor, or not be able to get to them. Like, fuck it. I waited for a lull in the fire, and I jumped up and I ran as fast as I could, and I dove behind that tractor tire, like baseball slide right behind it. And it felt like that dude was shooting on night vision. It was so accurate. That tractor tire was, probably like a 35-inch tractor tire. I mean, tall, but not big enough to hide a dude behind, let alone 6 of us. So basically me and the JTAC over there, we're trying to look for a break in coverage so now we can jump up. We're trying to grab these dudes. So you've got Matty, who's already shot through the arm. It smacked him in the humerus bone, hit his brachial artery, and it flipped his arm over his shoulder. So when he's looking down, all he sees is a nub. He can't see it's over him. He's got a long cut-off T-shirt. The corpsman shot through and through. He's dragging him back, and you watch him get shot again. Spins him around and hits the ground. Jumps back up, grabs him again, dragging him back. Gets shot again. Falls, stands back up, dragging him back again. I remember looking over, and Jay was on all fours. You tell he'd been shot multiple times, and he says something like, I'm hit, or some kind of shit, and you watch that guy shoot him in the face. And just like the movies, dude, it snapped and spun him around and slammed him in the deck, and then nothingness. Like, I mean, this is 25 feet away. You're like, holy fuck.
This is one of your guys getting shot in the face?
It's actually our officer in charge. Yeah, took a round, AK right to the jaw, blew his jaw, went through his nose, took his whole nose off. He took a double stack right to the crook of the elbow, so it blew his arm out. Took one in the side, played, I think, a couple in the legs. I mean, jammed up. Like, he's fucked. Shot his helmet off. And he's laying there, stone cold dead, not making a sound for what looked like a minute or two. And now it's me and Jay back there. We're looking back and forth. He's like, what are we doing? He's like, I'm going for him. I was like, I'm going for Matty. As soon as he stands up and runs for our officer, I run for Matty, and I don't have to pull him back far, maybe 20 feet. Drag him and the corpsman back, and then we try to do a triage. The JTAC gets our officer back, and now we're trying to assess how bad the damage is. But this dude is actively shooting the entire time. It felt like it never lets up. Boom, 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 the whole fucking time. And because you're stacked up, I mean, if you imagine a tractor tire, and now it's dudes stacked up horizontal, we can't get them vertical. There's not enough room. We'd be stretched out 40 feet. They're hitting the tire. They're hitting everywhere. And it felt like if you would have stuck your head up, he would have shot you in the head. So we're trying to work out of blowout kits. I mean, we're burying elbows and arms and just anything to try to stop bleeding. We're trying to work through blowout kits, but there's no light. Yeah. So you're literally doing this by nothing but feel. And if you haven't had to tear through a blowout kit with no illume whatsoever, they all feel the exact same. It's like, holy shit. I'm trying to put a tourniquet on. I'm trying to get on his arm, and as I'm cranking it, he's still shooting at us, and you can hear his bones splintering and breaking. And he's screaming, telling you to stop, telling all the same shit they tell you is going to happen. Oh. He's begging me for quick clot. He's like, I need quick clot, I need quick clot. Well, he doesn't know how bad it is. I've rolled him over, and he's a big boy. He's about your size. He's got a big-ass arm. Mm-hmm. And the whole inside of it is blown out. Yeah. The whole thing. I mean, this entire piece is nothing but an exit wound, and you can see it just spraying out. So when I lift his sleeve up, it all blows into my mouth. I'm like, holy fuck. I crank on the tourniquet. I get the bleeding to stop enough, but I've got my fingers inside him, and I can feel the pulse. I can feel the blood shooting out. I'm trying to get it to clean out, and I remember there was a dude that taught TCCC, and he was talking about the effects of quick clot and what it does to the human body and what they have to do in the surgical repair afterwards. That's a bad one, yeah. And he's a big dude, and I think I've got the bleeding stopped enough, but it's also pitch fucking black. We're also being shot at, but I don't want him to lose his arm, and it's such a big wound that I'm afraid if I dump it in there, he's going to lose his entire arm. Like, in my mind, I'm confident enough that I have the bleeding stopped, and he's begging for this quick clot. So I do what any good dude does. I fucking lied to him. Yeah. I put that thing in my mouth, and I was like, I got you. I don't tear it. I make the shaking motion like I'm dumping in his arm. I was like, you got it. He's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Laid his fucking head back. I didn't dump any quick clot on you, dude.
Yeah.
We're waiting for this whole thing to stop, and the machine gun fire is only getting more accurate. And because we still have those guys in behind us, this is what the hardest thing for me to wrap my head around. You gotta bear with me because I've really compartmentalized this because it kind of fucking haunts me. I never fired back.
I was going to ask you that question. Who's engaging back at this point in time?
Nobody. The corpsman initially blew off a couple rounds out of a pistol into the bush line, but I don't think he was tracking that our dudes were directly behind him. So I had the advantage of seeing the entire thing unfold. I have the advantage of seeing where the sparkle is. I see the muzzle flash, but I can see the strobe off in a distance of where our dudes are, and they are directly behind him.
Yeah.
So I don't shoot back, and it's one of those moments of like courageous restraint. Like, I want to shoot back in this fucking bush line so bad. But if I would have zipped a 5.56 round through one of my dudes and killed him, I would have never recovered from it, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. But it's hard to sit there and watch everybody else get shot, knowing you can't do shit. I mean, I was close enough from this dude shooting, I could have underhanded a frag and killed this dude. Like, he was that close.
Could you see the guy or no?
You could see the muzzle. I mean, he was from here to that wall.
So, but let me ask you this now.
Oh, yeah, dude.
You have the guilt of that. But at the same time, do you think maybe if you start cranking rounds off, he starts seeing your muzzle flash, and now he's got more accurate fire on where you're at?
Maybe, but it was so accurate anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, he can hear us. I mean, we're from here to the wall. I mean, you can hear it. And you can hear him racking, you can hear him changing, you can hear the rounds. You think it's one guy, but god damn it, it felt like he had a Hollywood machine gun belt. The ones that never end, just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Over and over and over. And this thing goes on for a couple minutes, and Jay looks like he's dead.
Yeah.
Like, we always have that saying, I know every culture has it. If this happens to me, just put me out of my fucking misery. If I step on IED and it blows my junk off both my legs, just kill me. Yeah. We always say that. That was the moment in time. If I would have rolled a mirror around, he would have said, shoot me. That was the moment. When you look at him, he's not going to survive that.
The guy got shot in the face?
Yeah.
And he's unconscious at this point, or no?
He's completely coherent now. He can barely speak because all the teeth shattered out of his mouth. So he's talking like this. He's like, get my fucking helmet. Get my helmet. Get my helmet. But he's lucid. Yeah. He's making sense. But he's incapacitated. He's been shot in the legs, been shot in the arm, he's been shot in the face. So we're just trying to keep everybody calm. But we're trying to get him to where they're not going to die in our fucking arms right now. Yeah. And at one point, the JTAC's going back and forth. He's like, hey, we need a danger close fire mission. Got to get it in. And deny. Third time, he's like, we need a danger. He's like, it's too close. We can't drop this close. And to my knowledge, I think Jay will still back it up. This is still the closest call for fire in the entire Iraq war. So they launch out a 40 mic or a 25 mic and basically start walking him in. He's like, finally. And basically where we needed to drop was from here to the wall. And he's like, it's too close. We can't send it. And he says it plain English. He's like, if you don't, we're going to fucking die anyway. Yeah. He passes initials, Juliet Alpha, send it. And they did. They launched it and started to walk it in. And as it got closer and closer, you could feel it. And it was so close that it was bouncing us off the ground. You could feel this reverberating over and over. The 40 mic, boom, boom, boom. And slowly but surely walking me, he's like, closer, closer, another 10 meters closer, closer, closer. And he's like, I can't go any closer. Everything you've done is non-effective. Yeah.
They could see your positions very clearly, right?
Yeah, but it's so close, dude. And those guys are, I mean, what's a C-130 fly at? 10,000, 12,000 feet?
Yeah. I mean, they're, between 8 and 10.
Yeah. But they're in a left-hand pattern this entire time, so you can watch them in the orbit. Boom, 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 boom.
Danger close is anything within, 50 yards.
Yeah. You guys
and now you're talking about,
10, 20 feet yards. At this point in time.
Yeah, I mean.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, but they're just walking them in, and then all of a sudden you hear it, boom, and you hear that dude scream, ah! I'm like, more of that, more of that. So you're hearing this dude go through the death cycle, just pounding him over and over, like 25 mic, send it. You hear him now, everything is pounding inside of this guy. And you're trying to savor the moment of hearing this dude take his last breath, and like everybody wants to cheer and chant, but the 3 dudes at the base of you are dying. Outside of the corpsman who's shot in the leg, everybody else, Matty could kill over and die right fucking now. He's lost so much blood. It's such a bad injury, and I don't even know about all the other places he's been shot. Yeah. Right? Like, I'm just concerned with the arm right now. We haven't even done finger drags. There's not enough room, and that's typically what you do. You go head to toe. You're combing them, trying to find bullet holes. You don't have the time and space to do that. The whole thing's modified at this point. So by the time that thing happens, we finally kill him. We call it Black HLZ. They land that Black Hawk 30 feet behind us. We pick everybody up, throw them in the back of the bird. I jump in. I think at that point I'd done TCCC, that live tissue course, 3 or 4 times. And we've got a badass crew chief flight medic on there. Opens up his bag and he's like, you take that one, I'll take this one. We'll meet in the middle. Let's go. Putting on new tourniquets, pressure dressings, the whole thing. And that's when you find out Matty's been shot in the leg. And I really found it because my gun was slung and I'm trying to work on one of the guys and he's screaming at me. He's like, get your fucking gun out of my leg. So I look down, he's bleeding out of his leg. I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's been shot. He doesn't even realize it. Now he does. We're trying to mess with his legs. And that was the first time I had actual white light on Jay's face. He looked like Skeletor.
Oh, shit.
The whole thing was removed, dude. He had no nose. You could see into his sinus cavity. I mean, and he's just sitting there so stoic, not moving, backs up against the door in the 60, and he's just sitting there, just white wall, 1,000-yard stare, not moving. And I'm working on these guys, and I'm looking at him, crew chief's looking at me, and like, I'm just waiting for him to slump over and die. Like, there's nothing you can do. They've already stopped the bleeding, but there's no way you're going to live through that, right? There's no way. By the time we got through, I mean, that flight surgeon that was on there was super fucking badass, and really thankful that guy. Those pilots flew that 60 so fast, it broke the buckle on my helmet.
No shit.
We had the doors open on my side, and it was sucking my helmet out of the bird. That's how fast. They were at a 45, full tilt, as fast as you could humanly fly that airplane. Yeah. It was insane. We touched down in, I think we touched down in Baghdad, or wherever the level 1 trauma center was, and we opened up the door. They're all meeting us. We're transitioning guys on gurneys, and as soon as we lift up Matt and put him, his arm falls off him, and the whole thing hinges. And that doctor grabbed his arm and threw it on his chest, grabbed a hold of it, and he's like, if you let go of that fucking arm again, you'll lose it. Don't let go of it. So he's holding onto his arm, pale white. You can tell he's scared shitless. I'm scared shitless because that dude was one of the survivors for June 28th. And I don't know about you, but like I held on to that dude like he was our only piece of June 28th we had. And to watch that dude get shot like that, my world was coming apart, dude. I really looked up to him like a big brother, and to watch him sitting there dying in my fucking arms, I don't know how to quantify it. I didn't know what to fucking do, so I kissed him on the fucking forehead, told him I loved him, passed him off, and I got back in that bird, and I remember just sitting there Indian style. The whole back of that airplane looked like the Humvee scene in Black Hawk Down. Go wash the blood out of the Humvees. There were just magazines and tourniquets and blowout kits and just fucking blood everywhere. It was all over me. It's in my fucking mouth. It's in my eyes. And I remember just sitting there just feeling so defeated about not shooting back. Like, did I get the tourniquet on right? Is that fucking dude going to die in the next 30 seconds? Is Jay dead? Is the corpsman going to make it? Like, and just sitting there trying to wrap my head into how in the fuck did I just not get shot? Because you can watch it on the ISR and you can see the rounds go in between me. Like, it was a surreal experience. When I am running that tree, you can watch the rounds going underneath my feet and I'm just not getting hit. And there is no rhyme or reason. So that survivor's guilt really smacked me, but it was the unknown. And I remember going back, we had a debrief. They'd already went back. I was on a separate helo. I come in, they pick me up in a van, they drop me in. You guys are probably 3/4 way through the debrief. You remember that? Mm-hmm. I remember sitting down, just covered in blood, listening to them talk and trying to tell them what I knew. It was like, I think Matty's going to lose his arm. Jay's got no face. Luke DeCorman shot through the tib fib. It's a gnarly shot. I don't know anything, man. We're just waiting for an update. And I remember Mark Crampton. He was actually our command master chief. We were going through buds. Super fucking gangster. Everybody loves this guy. And unfortunately, we lost him a couple years ago to suicide. But it was one of the most gangster fucking things that's ever happened to me. And it still lives with me today. We're in that debrief, and everybody used to dip Copenhagen back in the day. And I've got Copenhagen snuff. And I'm doing this huge pack. And I grabbed this big lip. And I remember when I looked down, my hands are just caked in blood. It looked like I just dumped them in a bucket. And I threw this big lip in. And he looked over me. Give me one of those. And I looked at the can. I was like, "Oh, Master Chief, you don't want one of these." He's like, "The fuck, I don't." Stuck his hand into that can. It's all covered in blood, and pulled out this huge lip and stuck it in his face. It's like just one of those surreal moments. Like, what a gangster that dude is. Like, what the epitome of fucking combat leadership at that moment. As a young 20-year-old Navy SEAL, like that's what the fuck I needed more than anything. Right?
Small gesture he did.
That small gesture, just humility. Like we're on the same fucking team, man.
Right.
Like everything that just happened, everything's forgotten. You did everything you could. Let's all just corral around each other. And yeah, for me, like that was the first time where you were kind of just laying back going, there ain't no fucking way you're making it through this one. Just outnumbered, outpositioned. There's nowhere to go. You're just going to lay here and just be shot up. And if we would have had 10% of loom, that dude would have killed every single one of us.
What was your belief in God at that point in time? Spirituality, spelled that wrong.
No connection.
Nothing there at all?
No. Nothing in the teams ever drove me to religion. It definitely made me spiritual in nature, but not driving me to religion. Gotcha. I used to say prayers to fallen team guys in the past, like, hey, fellas, we're really going to need a Hail Mary on this one, dude. Yeah. Like, it's going to be dicey. It's 100% a loom. There's 35 guys on target. Like, we're definitely going to be in a big shootout. Like, look out for the boys tonight. I'd say that shit like that, but it never once drove me to religion. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but that was a hard thing to get back from, man. And I remember standing in the shower. We were all going to go eat breakfast that morning. The JTAC was still there, the Terp was still there, and I was in the shower. And, you know, the septic system in those little bullshit trailers we were showering it ain't the best. So, I mean, I'm past ankle deep in just straight blood at this point. I'm washing off, and one of the old guys we had in there came by and he ripped open the shower curtain and he looked at me and he's like, "How you holding up?" Like, not fucking good, man. Not fucking good at all. And butt-ass naked in the shower, just covered in blood, and he fucking gave me a huge hug, shower still running. No. And he's like, "Clean your shit up, let's go get some fucking pancakes, dude." Okay. Cleaned up, got dressed, and we all walked over in unison. We all had a pancake breakfast, kind of talking about everything, went back and just waited for the medical updates. And just more series like that just throughout the rest of my career. But that was like my first shot of, we are not going to make it through this.
Before we get to what happened to everybody, how'd you feel when you heard this? They came back in.
Well, we that night, so we landed on the X. Actually hit a mosque, and like,
which is super taboo to do.
Yeah, but at that time it was like, it was approved. But I ended up falling out of the helicopter like 20 fucking feet. That was a kickoff of it. Long story short, like hit that, and you know the squirters or whoever went out in the field. I mean, it sucked. Like, you feel powerless. Like, you want to do everything and be there for them. And it's like, I hate to call it tactical patience, but there's nothing you can do. It's like they're there and kind of just waiting for the updates. I mean, it was a big firefight. Like, didn't know which direction was going where. And it sucked. And
did you know DJ was all good at that point in time while you guys were handling your business?
I didn't. I don't think we really knew anyone's status. Yeah. At one point, I think after they dropped like the 40 Mike and those things, another kind of small team went out there, like Josh and those guys. Mm-hmm. And so a small group came back and they were just like, it's not good. Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
how common is it for development group guys to ever be take that kind of hit on an operation?
That was Team 10.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Team 10?
Yeah.
Okay, well, how common it is for that? For Navy SEALs, a bunch of them getting shot in a single op?
That never happens.
Okay.
But I'll also say that development group in Delta had been dealing with this tree line issue for multiple rotations. and we just weren't getting the word. They weren't going in there.
Palm Groves.
Yeah.
They ain't fucking stupid. They ain't going in there. They send in a dog. They send in all kinds of things. We just don't have that information because we weren't sharing TTPs. So we see it. Well, how are you going to get in there? We don't have a dog at that point.
Yeah.
We don't even have canine working dogs at that year.
Why couldn't they just drop something on these guys if they knew where they were at? Is it rules of engagement?
It's hard to PID weapons back then. It's not a guarantee. In hearts and minds, man, you dump a farmer with a shovel, somebody's going to fry for it. So you have to make sure, and it sounds fucked up. The most easiest way to do it is to send to U.S. to confirm that he is an adversary.
I mean, don't we have the technology to kind of...
We do now.
Okay,
because not in
I know
07.
Not in 07.
Oh, this was 07.
In 07, we had
I know for a
president
fact
too, didn't we?
We did.
That changed some.
Yeah,
I won't get too deep into that, but I know that much.
But I mean, that's a tough.
There was a certain individual that changed some things for them and how they engaged.
Yeah.
That year.
I mean, it was the evolution of kind of that war too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it went from just direct action, like we're going to win this whole thing, to you better not shoot the wrong person. We talk about that for our next deployment. Like, you shoot the wrong person, whether they were good or bad, and you were going to pay the fucking man for it.
Every mission that used to always be like kill, capture.
Yep.
And then it started changing into capture, kill.
Right.
And then call out and just please beg.
Yeah.
Hey,
And then it went to...
will you please put these on?
And then I had other ones in my career. I know he's done them too. Capture only. Do you know how hard it is to capture a human being that doesn't want to be captured?
Hostile intent.
It's fucking impossible, dude.
Okay, I work for Classic, so I'm not going to say certain things.
That is an
Let's just say
impossible task. And when you put that on a force that is not willing to fail, they exhaust every resource, including themselves, to try to make that a reality. And it's so goddamn dangerous. It really makes me... It makes me hate some of the organization.
Even look at the current law enforcement SWAT teams. Like in the United States, it's all call-out culture now. Just get out there.
And over there, that's what they want to do. And what they wouldn't put into reality is that's fine if you own the entire area. When you're in the middle of a city and you do a call-out, everyone around you starts shooting at you. Yep. And they're like, well, that just shows hostile intent. You can't fight 43 buildings with 65 people simultaneously with 25 guys. That doesn't work. Yep. We all get shot.
And it's so easy to be a civilian. You just hide the AK and just walk down the street. And then go pick up the next one. I feel like that's literally what they do.
That's what they do.
Yeah, so, you know what? I'm glad you guys are here all right. I want to ask you this, DJ, though. Do you still feel kind of defeated that you didn't fire back that day, to this day, or are you more comfortable with it now?
I try to round it out to tactical patience. Yeah. Like, I had the awareness to see the whole picture and not let my emotions get in control, but there's still that part of me that, what would have happened if I would have taken 5 or 6 really controlled shots right on top of the muzzle flash? Could I have ended the entire thing? I'll never know. But what if I would have taken those 5 shots and I would have hit a dude? I would have hit one of my own guys. Like, you don't recover from that.
Exactly. You don't know. And plus those guys, your guys were already shot initially anyways, right? So even if because by the time you were able to collect yourself and fire back, your guys were already shot.
Yeah. It's kind of over at that point.
Exactly.
I mean, the only thing that I am proud of is how well the JTAC performed, how everybody kept their calm, and then how well we were able to handle that mass casual scenario. Like, without that live tissue training, that TCCC, I tell that to everybody. The one fucking thing in my career that has saved me more than anything is medical training.
Isn't that crazy? People just train so much, but not medical.
Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you, man, like, the comfortability you have after doing that training multiple times. I mean, dude, there are pigs running around Northern Virginia that have no legs that we have kept alive for years. I have no doubt. Yeah. But, I mean, that training should be mandatory for every single person that carries a firearm. If you have any inkling you could be shot or somebody in your team should be shot, if you're not doing that training, you'll never understand how valuable it is. Yeah. Those guys have saved more men and women than anything else just by doing that training.
So talking about saving people through that training, how many of those guys survived? What was the outcome?
All of them.
Oh, yeah.
They all survived.
What about the guy who got shot in the face? What was his name?
Jason Redman.
How does he look now?
Not as bad as you would think, but they had to remove a shit ton of skin off his forehead and basically remake him a nose. And, dude, he's probably if he's had 100 surgeries, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, his arm's kind of fixed. He can't really move it. I mean, you can definitely tell he got shot in the face.
It shows, because you hear him talking, and obviously I've heard him speak about it in the scenario and everything like that, the resilience of the fucking human mind. Because that's not even your body. That's your mental at that point in time.
Dude, he had that from the moment he got shot all the way through, dude. Like,
how
there
calm
was
was he? Was he screaming getting through it, or was he more calm than anything?
Eerily calm.
It's weird, isn't it?
And I don't know if that, I mean, I'm sure he'll say some divine intervention shit or something, but for him to not freak out over that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen, because I don't think many people would be shot in the face or shot multiple times and not be, the fact he just didn't get up and just run.
Yeah.
Like, that's the most, like, just run. Just get the fuck away from that. And he didn't.
So not the same scenario. So I'm going to give you somebody that I know that we actually did a podcast with. Yeah. She was a cop out in Texas. And similar scenario. It's one of the most simply badass things I've ever seen in my life. She makes a traffic stop. 3 gangsters in the car. She rolls up. She starts getting the fucking spidey sense. As soon as she puts her head in the car, dude in the passenger seat, boom, shot. Through the jaw, out the side of her ear.
Didn't it just enter right here?
No, it threw it here, outside of her ear. So blows out one side of her face. Yeah. Takes another shot under her vest, outer boob.
Goes inside.
Spins around, fucking gets up, engages these motherfuckers. Gets in the car because they take off. Chases them down for another 15 fucking minutes. Dude, the way I'm talking to you like this right now is the most elevated she was the whole time.
Yeah.
One of the fucking insanest things. Because like you said, most people, you see that type of thing, you're like, dude, they're fucking done. She just took a round to the face. Same thing with your guy. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you saw that and you were like, there's no way. Like, how are you not fucking screaming? I'm screaming for you inside right now, you know? Yeah. And similar scenarios, just the psyche of a human being, dude. And mindset of, I'm not fucking dying here. I can imagine you guys have had a conversation about this at some point, that he probably told you some things like, I've got shit to live for. Like, this is not the place. We're leaving it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard podcasts where he talked about thinking about his wife and his kids and how I'm not going to leave them. I just got to stay awake. Yeah. And I remember the surgeon saying that, don't go to sleep, because he was definitely doing touch and goes for a while.
Yeah.
You'd watch him like, you're just tired, dude. You just want to power it down. Just like, stay awake. But I remember looking over and seeing him just stoic, man. He looked like a fucking statue, just staring there.
Yeah.
Just fighting it to stay awake.
Just going home.
But not screaming, not, hey, look at me. If anything else, he was like, don't fucking touch me. Worry about those 2 guys.
Yeah.
I'd have to ask Maddie and the guys. I'm pretty sure he said that. Don't fuck with me, fuck with them. Like, work on those guys first. And yeah, I mean, just a really badass move all around. But that thing that Maddie did, running forward and grabbing that corpsman, just like out of the movies, man.
Yeah.
Getting shot, picking him back up, getting shot again, picking him back up, getting shot again, and picking him back up. Like,
that's
just the physical, mental resiliency. It's like, God damn. Every time I see that dude, I throw a hug on him so hard. Because he is, man. Like, for me on that deployment, like, he was the dude I looked up to the most.
Yeah.
He was. He had a connection with June 28th. He was just such a mean motherfucker, but he was so well-rounded, so good at CQB, and just when you saw that happen to him, he did everything that I ever wished he would do, and he proved it in that moment. You're like, God, you are just as fucking awesome as I thought you were.
Yeah.
And he is to this day. I mean, one of my closest people.
How much of that is training, and how much of that is like actual person, the mental state? I know you can't quantify it, but I'm just curious to see what you guys think about this.
I think a lot of that is the unconditional love for the team, like how bad you want to be part of that team and how far you're willing to go. And now this is your opportunity to prove it. And
mindset. So is what you're saying.
And I talked to him about it, and we shot a thing not too long ago when he actually talked about that. He's like, there's a moment when that happened that all I wanted to do was run. And the team guy in the back of my mind told me, he's like, you better fucking not. You'll never look at yourself in the mirror again if you leave him.
Yep, that's right.
He's like, next thing I knew, my arm was on his plate carrier, and here we go. Now we're dragging him. And all I want to do is get him to the tire. Just get him to the tire. If I die at the tire, nobody gives a fuck. I've got to get him to the tire. Just kept dragging him. It was a baller move, man.
Question. People, I remember they were always saying that, the priorities of threats, right? You got a hostile engaging you, your buddy's shot. That hostile is more important. You can't aid your buddy.
Win the fight, self-aid, buddy aid, nearest corpsman.
Exactly. So, that's a great freaking example, man. Tell me about that. What do you think?
That's all good in reality, but you can't win that firefight right now because you can't shoot back. So what are you going to do? Got to go to the next thing in the priority list. Self-aid, they can't do it. They're shot to shit. Corpsman aid, got to be a corpsman. Got to play the role. Got all your training, got your blowout kit. What are you going to do? Put on tourniquets, start going to work. Got to do what you got to do. But yeah, I mean, people say a lot of things in training that don't actually apply in reality. If you don't have the right context, the right scenario, it's not a thing, it's a falsehood.
I love that because, man, I freaking love this.
So what's funny is we did a workout. Right. We did a workout right after that. I remember that. We were on our 3rd rotation, and we had a similar scenario. And those guys didn't know that we had been a part of that whole thing. And there was a down man, almost the exact same scenario. There was a multiple down man scenario that was up in front of us inside of the direct contact. And I remember me and 3 or 4 of the guys in the middle of the contact got up and sprinted towards him and grabbed him and drugged him back. And during the debrief, he's like, you guys never fucking do that in real life. Stop playing this. Win the firefight. And I looked right at him and I was like, I've actually fucking done that. And so is he, and so is he, and so is he. That's what you're actually going to fucking do. I'm not winning the firefight right now. I'm sacrificing myself to go get him. Like, I'm not playing a training scenario right now. I'm going to do what I'm actually going to do.
Devil's advocate, okay? That's what they will say.
No.
At least the trainers even told me, and I've seen this before, people talking about, well, if you want to help your buddy kill that guy so you can go get your buddy, if you actually don't do that or can't do that, you go to your buddy, now he's going to put you down too, so now you can't help your buddy. What do you say?
Situation dictates, man.
Yeah. Like your situation, which makes perfect sense. You can't engage. You don't know. Like, what are you going to do, sit there and drink coffee? You got to.
Everybody wants to be a gangster. It's the time to do that gangster shit. Sometimes you just got to hike up those big nuts and go get it. Just got to go.
Yeah. This is awesome, dude. Yeah.
But I mean, it's fucking hard because you train like that. And we have those conversations like, you got to win the firefight. Well, what if that's not an option? Like, what do you do if they step on an IED? Is it a minefield? You're just going to let him bleed out? You're going to run and go get him? I'm going to go get him. Like, I'd much rather die here than stand 15 feet back and watch my best friend bleed out. I'm not doing that. I'd much rather go out on my sword. And people say, like, oh, you wouldn't really do that. Yes, they would. I've seen it. I've seen it multiple times. Like, oh, you wouldn't run for it. Yes, they will. I've seen it, dude. Sometimes you have to do that. Does it break all the rules? Sure.
People always say it's like, when you break rules, know why you're breaking them. Just don't break them recklessly. And back to DJ's point too, the situation will always dictate. And sometimes it's like, I'm not going to stay in this little box where all the rules are. It's like, I'm going to break the rules for whatever the situation is. And there's been other instances like that I've been involved in personally. It's like, you completely went against a different tactic that we should have done, but I was like, well, this is why I didn't do that tactic.
Articulate, basically. Articulate what you're doing.
Like, you know it so well, it's like, it doesn't always apply.
Fucking bunch of internet operators just talking.
Well, I mean, like, you get guys that grew up in a jungle, we go through training, like, never throw a grenade in the house. They bounce off walls, they'll come back on you. I've deployed a shit ton of grenades in houses. Shit tons. Never throw a grenade in the bush line. Why? Like, because it'll bounce back. You don't know how dense the vegetation is. Well, say that to me when you're inside of 6 feet and you can't shoot back. Yeah. Explain it to me and they're like, well, yeah, but, you know, the rules say, I'm like, rules are made to be broken, man. Sometimes you have to adopt a playbook, man. You can't just go off black and white. Everything's got a gray area and you have to be able to navigate it.
Very, very, very good point. And I want to ask this, I'm sure, I hope not, but I'm sure it's happened. Any of your close buddies having losing their life in combat? You guys, have you had? You guys want to talk about it? Because what I'm going to get to after that is I want to see how you guys deal with it, deal with all this stuff in your personal lives too. But yeah, if you guys want to start with the incidents first.
So we were in our first platoon.
How do you deal when the shots are going back and forth with you, when you're staring in the mirror and there's nobody there but you shooting at yourself? How do you deal with that trauma from everything that's going on?
Being able to talk about it. Not isolating yourself. Because that's what we did best. Like, don't talk about it. You isolate it.
That's why I have this whole morning routine. You guys did it today with the cold plunge, with the fitness, 20-minute walks, the protein shakes, to live in a positive mindset, even in the face of sheer fucking chaos. So his supervisor terminated him.
I think any reasonable business would have done the same thing.
He said it. We watched it, and we're like, we need to talk about this because I feel like we at Classic CF Podcast, we also have an obligation to be able to enlighten people because there's a lot of disinformation out there. Yes. People are just drinking the Kool-Aid.